All right, I will now call this meeting to order. Good evening. Welcome to the July 1st, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. Please note that this meeting is being attended by the Planning Commission and applicants both via teleconference and in person. We thank you for your patience as we navigate city business through this new meeting process. Hopefully you can hear me through this. For the benefit of the public and as required by the Round Act, all voting will be by roll call. I will now call the meeting to order. Before we begin, I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Secretary Kavanaugh, can we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Dominguez,
Present.
Commissioner Owens,
Present.
Commissioner Spathopoulos,
present.
and Chair Duarte,
Present.
and Vice Chair Fermetta is absent.
Now's the time for any planning commission announcements, requests for future agenda items, and conference meeting reports. Commissioner Dominguez, do you have any?
No, sir.
Commissioner Owens?
None, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Spatos?
None, thank you.
And I have none. Okay. Now, this is also the time set aside for presentations. Mr. Schindler, is there any presentations for today?
No presentations tonight, Chair Duarte.
Okay, moving right along. Now, this is also time for the report on city council action. Director Schindler, are there any city council actions to report?
Nothing to report tonight, Chair.
Okay, now we move on to our first public hearing. The public hearing is for PLNN-20-0032. Director Schindler, can you introduce the staff person presenting this item?
Thank you, Chair Duarte. Tonight we have Irving Anaya, our Associate Planner, to make the presentation.
Good evening, Honorable Chair, Commissioners, and members of the audience. The item before you is a request for a minor conditional use permit and conditional use permit to allow a new 300 square foot outdoor dining area for a new restaurant called Dirt Dog, and a request to allow on-site consumption of beer and wine under an ABC Type 41 license. The subject site is located at the southeast corner of Firestone Boulevard and Woodruff Avenue. The site is improved with 3 multi-tenant commercial buildings and 90 on-site parking spaces. The applicant is proposing to locate within the tenant space as shown in red on the aerial image, also addressed as 9414 Firestone Boulevard. The subject site is in the C2 General Commercial Zone, as shown on the zoning map, which allows restaurants, but conditionally allows with alcohol sales with an approval of a conditional use permit. The new restaurant will occupy a 1,500 square foot tenant space within the commercial center. In addition to the tenant space, the applicant is proposing to create a 300 square foot outdoor dining area immediately adjacent to the north of the space. This area is currently improved with grass landscape, which is proposed to be removed to accommodate the outdoor dining area. The new outdoor dining area will be complemented with a landscape planter, which you'll see momentarily, between the sidewalk and dining area. The applicant also proposes to sell beer and wine to complement their new menu. The hours of operation for the new restaurant will be Monday through Sunday from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. The slide before you are proposed improvements, such as the 300 square foot dining area outlined in red, and an exterior pathway, and a newly landscaped area outlined in green. The applicant is proposing a variety of species commonly found in the region. So the request was reviewed by the city's design review committee, where departments did not raise concerns and provided standard conditions. On this slide here, you'll see a 3D rendering of the proposed improvements for the proposed outdoor dining and landscape area. This concludes staff's presentation, and I'll be available to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your presentation. Commissioner Dominguez, do you have any questions?
So did this applicant come before us recently? I have a vague recollection of this coming before us for some approval. Is this the one?
I don't believe so.
Mr. Chair, if I may, this is the first time that this applicant has been before the Planning Commission.
Okay. All right, so having said that, have there been any issues with police involvement in the prior establishment?
No, sir. No, Commissioner. The establishment was previously an office use. This is a brand new use, restaurant use, being located within that tenant space.
Okay. They did a good job writing this up, presented it. So I think you covered all the bases on this. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Owens?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Spatos?
I do have one question in regards to the outdoor seating area. Was any consideration taken for the fact that this is on Firestone Boulevard? It's a 3-lane highway. Vehicles tend to travel pretty fast down that part of Firestone Boulevard. And I see the fencing that is proposed in this diagram here. Was anything taken into consideration as far as posts or beams or anything to protect patrons when they're out on that patio? As far as the gate is concerned, or the separation between the landscaping and the actual seating area?
Staff did review this with the Public Works Department. They felt there is a wide right-of-way in that area. The sidewalk was wide enough. There's still some landscaping to be provided, but if the commissioner feels we should add additional bollards within that landscape strip, we can add that as a condition if the commission feels it's necessary.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll just follow up to that. You have no further questions, Commissioner?
No further questions. Thank you.
So in terms of the outside seating right there, was there the reason why it was set towards on the Firestone side as opposed to the front side? Was there just no room, or?
I mean, based on the current development, yeah, there really wouldn't be too much room. It would be encroaching into that walkway, existing walkway. So the applicant felt that this would be a more appropriate space, outside of the walking path of anyone entering the commercial center there.
And just to follow up on the commissioner's previous question, in terms of maybe adding a little extra buffer there, is there any options on that that have been discussed with the applicant?
We did not discuss that. If that's something that needs to be discussed, I guess we can, maybe discuss it with the applicant.
Okay. Well, I have no further questions. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could come back in for a moment and ask of staff on the same vein as Commissioner Jimmy and you, Miguel. So in the suggestions for some sort of mitigation between, high speed of travel vehicles and the participants, patrons of this proposed restaurant, maybe a screened wall, not as extensive as K-rail, K-rail, concrete, solid, but there's very many types of decorative bollards, as was mentioned, with a solid screen panel, between each bollard. Not solid, but ones that are architecturally built and as well as built with safety in mind to hold back, a speeding car. Nothing would hold it back ultimately, but this might save a life or a limb as we go forward with thinking about conditioning this proposal. That's what I had to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Okay, thank you for the presentation. Before we begin the public hearing, I'd like to remind members of the public participating telephonically that the city's meeting rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code prohibit any conduct that disturbs or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting, even if you're participating telephonically. Each speaker shall have 5 minutes to address the commission. Members of the public wishing to address the planning commission regarding the public hearing for items PLN-20-0032 and PLN-19-00198 only may now call our teleconference line at 562-299-6622. For those who submitted comments via email, your comments will be read into the record and no further public comment via teleconference will be permitted. For those present in city council chambers, your comments will be taken after phone and email comments are provided. I will now open the public hearing and will start by inviting the applicant to address the commission.
Chair Duarte, we have one of the applicant is joining us via Zoom, and he has two of his representatives here in the meeting with us as well. So if we can ask the two architects to come to the podium, and Kenny, you should be unmuted now if you wanted to address the commission.
Okay. Well, good evening, Mr. Chair and commissioners and all members. Thank you for taking your time out to listen to us. My name is Kenny, and I'm one of the owners of the Dirt Dog restaurant. We serve bacon wrap hot dogs, Los Angeles street food. We started in 2005, and with three partners, actually three college friends. We dropped out from our corporate jobs and chased the American dream and took a leap of faith. And here we are with our fifth restaurant, and we're excited to be a part of Downey. Part of our value is not just selling food or restaurant, but to pay it forward to our people and our community. Every community that we're in, we be a part of that community. For example, our first location in Los Angeles, we will partner up with all the local churches to support them with anything they need to build within the church, and support the catering events, and also the locals homeless shelters. And as for Pasadena, we ever since the pandemic started, we supported the police department, the homeless shelters, and the frontline worker with Kaiser, the nurses there. And our current project we're doing now with the Compton Cemetery, that we partner with the people in Compton to rebuild a cemetery that was left alone for many years. The cemetery has a lot of history. World War I to the Vietnam War veteran was buried there, and they left it alone. So we try our best to give it back or pay for it to every community that we're in, and we'll be happy to be a part of Downey. And today, like Erwin suggested, that we're here to propose and request that we can have this patio to serve our guests. And again, thank you for your time tonight.
Hi, good evening, Chairman, Commissioners, planning staff. My name is John from Gerwing & Associates, the architect representing the applicant. Just here to answer any technical questions you guys have.
Commissioner Dominguez, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No, I do not at this point in time.
All right, thank you. Commissioner
Sure.
Owens? Commissioner Owens? I think he's on mute.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not on mute anymore. It's just the same comment or question from before that Commissioner Spathopoulos had brought up, and that's about mitigating, the outdoor seating area from any potential traffic hazard, you know, or a vehicle gone wild, if you will. So maybe the architect might have a couple of comments back in regards to that item.
Yes, actually for that one, that's something that we could address or add into our site plans. Maybe instead of just having a post, we'll insert bollards between the panels. And I'm pretty sure that's, you know, with the staff, something we could agreed upon on what elements that we could add there for vehicle protection.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Espatos?
Same thing, just going back on that original question in regards to ballards, considering the traffic that's on Firestone Boulevard. Question for the architect there today. Was anything taken into consideration on the original drawings in regards to this concern, like when you originally drew up the plans?
To be
Or is
honest,
it just a gate, you know, that separates the eating area from the sidewalk at this point?
yeah, to be honest,
In other words, my question is there any safety, any standard of safety in this drawing as we see it here today?
with you, sir, we typically just had a regular railing for, you know, to separate the dining to the public. The traffic, we haven't really thought about it, but it's a good point that you guys brought up, and that's something that we could consider.
With that said, with your knowledge and experience, what would be the easiest way to remedy this situation, both for the applicant and your company as well? We mentioned the ballards, and you mentioned something with ballards between each of the panels, which I think is a great idea. Just piggybacking on that, I would also possibly throw out there, and then maybe you can give me your opinion on a remedy, is including ballards further up because cars are traveling eastbound towards that. So maybe even ballards before that eating area.
Yeah.
What would you propose?
The first thought is the bollards, and just to have some architectural feature for that, we'll use kind of like the bollards as the main post of the fence and put like some decoration in between. Another thought that I have on top of my head, maybe just have like a low wall in between the bollards, you know, something a little bit more solid, and then maybe like 2 feet high, and then the rest could be like some decorative features to show some visibility.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Espatos. And then just to follow up on that, in terms of, I know there's other locations here in California. Have you had any architectural ballards in other locations, or is this something you've encountered before?
This situation is actually pretty unique. Typically, the patio we can have is just like facing the parking lot, not too exposed to the main street, or sometimes if it's kind of like facing the main street, we have a little bit more of a buffer zone. So this is something that, you know, we need to look into to, you know, protect the public.
Okay. But you'd be more than willing to look into that with staff, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Secretary Kavanaugh, will we have any first speaker on the phone?
We have no calls, Chair Duarte.
Do we have any written public comment on the item to read into the record?
No, we do not.
Okay, we will now invite those present in the council chambers to speak at the podium. Do we have anyone that wants to speak in favor or opposition? Seeing no one, I will now close the public hearing. Okay, we can begin deliberation here. Commissioners, Commissioner Dominguez, do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually do. First off, let's not follow a rabbit into the hole here regarding the bollards and protective devices. You know, the question is, for me, is how far back is the actual seating area from the street? And I think this is probably something that falls more into the revenue of whoever does street construction and all that might be at Norris. I don't know, maybe Oliver can tell us. But we have to look and see. Okay, we also have other venues that but the street for dining. Example, Downey Avenue. Although it's not a 3-lane highway in one direction, the speed's a little bit different. The danger still exists regardless of speed. It could be 5 miles an hour, 55. So the question here is, what are we trying to set up as a city? Are we trying to set up a safety zone, a buffer between the roadway versus the entitlement area of the person's premise for seating? And what is it? And I think it should be standardized. If we're going to go for bollards, then we should have bollards that probably look like Downey, with the Downey symbol that we have up and down Firestone Boulevard. And I'll tell you from experience of seeing many accident casualties firsthand, is a 2-foot block wall with or without concrete reinforcement is not going to stop a vehicle. In fact, they may cause the vehicle to go airborne and into the people you're trying to protect. So let's not judge let's not jump into judgment right now at the dais trying to make a decision on this very important issue. I think that if anything, we need to table this and say, okay, it goes back to public safety or Ed Norris or whoever it is in charge of roadway construction and public safety, or we just say, this is a non-issue until the city is able to come up with a resolution that we can then perhaps apply either retrospectively or move forward in the future. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Owens?
So some of that I can agree with, of course. It makes all good sense. We're talking about a standardization of a public safety measure. Be a little work on it. I would think categorically there might be 6 to 10 categories of what that is based on businesses that already exist in town. Overall, I don't have any problem with this application, this project proposed. I can see in our conditions here under building, item 21, if you've got your agendas, if you can look on page 14 under building 21, might be a shift of the numbers and called it, under building 22, Commissioner Dominguez's suggestion about sending it back, holding it, sending it back to those that need to weigh in, opine, and work with the applicant, for this mitigation measure. But I could see we could propose some language.
Commissioner Owens?
We lost you.
And I was on a roll. Okay, so I was saying, I think we can get this passed under, by utilizing additional condition under building to, provide a mitigation measure for what we're all concerned with, and have the city work that out with the applicant. I do agree, though, that a look into, other, because we're going to outdoor seating based on the pandemic, and it's probably a good thing to do anyhow. So there might be some standardization that needs to be looked at as other, businesses ask for outdoor seating, in heavily trafficked or even lightly trafficked street frontage. So, but overall, I'm good with the proposal. Thank you.
Commissioner Spatos?
I agree with Commissioner Owens in that I think it's probably best to try to condition it here at the Planning Commission meeting today, instead of having the applicant caught up in bureaucracy and going back and forth with the city and the public safety department. I love the proposal. I think it's going to be a welcome sight in the city of Downey. I think if maybe we can come together and condition, like the architect for the applicant said, possibly putting in ballards between the panels on those outside gates, and possibly putting in a few more just west of the patio seating area. And I can also, I understand Commissioner Dominguez's input in that, it may not completely stop a vehicle, but I think from a liability perspective, as a planning commission, we did, our best to protect the community and potential customers in the event, knock on wood, that something is to happen. So I would feel better if we conditioned it with ballards in between those panels, however many there are. I don't think it's going to be a huge expense for the applicant. And then potentially additional ballards, decorative ones, like he had mentioned, just before the patio seating area. those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Spatos, I agree with you in the sense here that, and Commissioner Owens, that I don't think we need to kick this back. I think from the sounds of it, we're all in favor of the proposal. They did a really great job with their plans. But yeah, maybe we can condition under item 22 building where, the applicant is willing to look in that with staff in terms of, whether that be a ballard or 2-foot wall, something just a little more for security purposes, because that street is very busy. Something like that, I think can be conditioned on 22. But, I don't know what that language would look like right now. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that.
Chair Duarte, if I may, I have prepared some language that the commission can consider. A new condition could read, provide appropriate vehicle safety improvements in the form of decorative bollards or similar items, subject to approval of Deputy Director of Public Works and City Planner.
Take the words out of my mouth.
Can we put, just to interject here, a minimum amount of ballards? Can we specify possibly ballards between panels, like their architect had mentioned, and potentially ballards just west of the seating area? That way it's not, they don't just install one ballard at one location and we're done. Just if we do it in the interest of safety for potential customers.
Yeah, Commissioner Spathos, we agree with you in that we're going to do it in the interest of public safety, and that's why we're going to sit down with not only the city planner, but we'll also loop in the police department, and we'll also loop in the fire department, and we'll see what calls for service have been like in that area. We'll see what traffic patterns have been like in that area, what traffic citations have been like in that area. And then also, we want the design to really, really look good. The balance is the design, safety, and we don't want it to look like a barricade. So I think the language right now is appropriate because we need to come up with that balance without stating you're going to get 5 bollards, 10 bollards, or so forth. But the intent, as you mentioned, is going to make sure that we make it more safe than it is as currently proposed.
I agree with Mr. Schindler in that sense. Is it, I don't know if any of us are equipped to say what's the minimum amount of ballards that is appropriate. So I trust staff with the fire department. We'll come to a correct decision on that. And those are my thoughts, but you guys can chime in.
I'm good with it as well, as the city had suggested. Let's have a few eyes on this, and I'm sure the applicant wants. I mean, the place will pop as is because of location and because of what it is. There's nothing on that corner that will drive people into that space like this proposal. And so, with that in mind, architecturally, I'm convinced that it will suit whatever method is agreed to will suit the eventual outcome of the entire space.
Okay, great.
Agreed.
Additional comments, or do we have a motion?
I have a motion. I have a motion to accept PLN-19-00-198 and PLN-20-000032 as is read in the CUP, with the inclusion of number 22 as read by Ms. Lavazzo, with the renumbering from 23 forward.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Mary, can you take roll call?
Excuse me, who was the second?
Commissioner Owens.
Great.
Or Jimmy.
It was moved by Commissioner Dominguez, seconded by Commissioner Owens, and passed by a vote of 4 in favor, and Vice Chair.
We got a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Commissioner Dominguez,
Aye.
Commissioner Owens,
Aye.
Commissioner Spathopoulos,
Aye.
Chair Duarte,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Fermetta is absent. It was moved by Commissioner Dominguez, seconded by Commissioner Owens, and passed by a vote of 4 in favor and Vice Chair Frometta absent, to adopt resolution of approval for PLN 20-00032 and PLN 19-00198 for a conditional use permit.
Okay, great. Congratulations to the applicant and welcome to Downey. Again. Commissioners, did you receive the email with the additional items for the second item today? It was sent by Guillermo, I believe.
I received it.
Commissioner Dominguez?
I do have some, yes, I see photographs now, yes.
Okay, Commissioner Spatos?
Yes, I'm reading it right now, or opening it, I should say.
Okay.
You have it in the back of the room?
And we have copies in the back of the room for people in chambers. So if anybody wants to look at this additional information for the second item, feel free to do so. Okay. Is that Mary putting them over? Thank you, Mary. Okay, now is the time for PLN-20-0029. Director Schindler, can you introduce the staff person presenting this item?
Yes, thank you, Chair Duarte. Tonight we have our principal planner, Guillermo Arreola, to make the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Before you is case number PLN 20-00029, which involves a site plan review and conditional use permit request to remodel an existing commercial tenant space and to allow a bar lounge with a type 48 ABC license and live entertainment at the property located at 11002 Downey Avenue. The property is located at the southeast corner of Downey Avenue and 3rd Street and located in the downtown Downey specific plan. The tenant space was formerly known as Maxwell's Kitchen and Bath. The applicant is proposing an interior and exterior facade remodel of the tenant space. The interior remodel measures 1,382 square feet and will include a U-shaped bar, semicircular booths, tables and chairs, 2 restrooms, a small back room area, and please be aware that there is no kitchen facilities proposed. The exterior facade remodel includes the removal of those mansard roofs to be replaced with decorative horizontal wood siding along the upper portion of the building, a prominent black beam separating the horizontal wood siding from the remaining stucco portion of the building. The facade area around the corner entries will include metal paneling with a rawhide coal black finish to accentuate the corner of the building. Cloth awnings and light fixtures are proposed along both facades with additional decorative ironwork along 3rd Street. All pedestrian entries and windows will include a bronze trim. And the storefront windows along 3rd Street and Downey Avenue will be replaced with foldable glass doors and windows, which are intended to appear reminiscent of a restaurant cafe with open air dining. The request also includes a Type 48 ABC license, which allows for a bar that sells beer, wine, and distilled spirits on the premises without a restaurant. Only the service of prepackaged charcuterie and cheese plates and snacks will be provided. The proposal also includes live entertainment in the form of live bands and musicians. No DJ or dancing is proposed. The proposed hours of operation are Monday through Sunday, 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. And live entertainment hours of operation are Monday through Sunday, 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. There's a typo on page 4. It should be 1 a.m., not 1 p.m. for the closing of the live entertainment. The proposed hours of live entertainment, however, are not consistent with recent approvals granted in the downtown area within the past year, which have designated live entertainment Thursday through Saturday only, with exceptions for specified holidays. At this time, the applicant has not provided staff with information as to where the live entertainment will take place and does not indicate accommodations to address noise. Staff has expressed concerns with the applicant regarding possible negative impacts associated with the open wall concept. And that would be the open wall concept. Excuse me? It would be on 3rd and it would be both on 3rd and Downey Avenue. And you can tell on the floor plan there how they fold open on both sides. Oops, pardon me. Bars are typically conducted within a completely enclosed building to reduce the possible impacts associated with the use. The DRC required standard conditions of approval. However, the police department required the submittal of a security plan and was concerned with the noise and security impacts that may potentially arise from the open wall concept. After analysis of the proposed bar, staff cannot recommend approval of the project as proposed due to concerns over outdoor seating is not a permitted use in conjunction with a bar, incompatibility with surrounding uses, the potential noise generated from the proposed land use, the potential security issues associated with an open wall concept in conjunction with a bar, the potential outdoor drinking area has a potential to become a nuisance and may be difficult to manage with the proposed open wall concept, and potentially may require constant police department presence. At this time, staff recommends that the applicant work with staff to modify the proposal to include fixed walls and windows, eliminate the outdoor seating, and remove or alter the live entertainment so that staff may reevaluate the proposal. Otherwise, based on the analysis provided in the staff report, staff is unable to make the required findings necessary to recommend approval and has prepared a resolution to deny conditional use permit and site plan review PLN number 20-00029. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. Commissioner Spatos, do you have any comments?
Yeah, this is, first, thank you for the presentation. Really nice. The renderings look really, really neat. I think it's something that would enhance the area, the downtown area specifically. Question I have is just reading through this report in regards to the downtown Downey specific plan. The items that seem to be of major concern, number one, the open air spill out, I guess it's called here in that last paragraph, to the street, and the noise. Is the downtown Downey specific plan addressing only Downey Avenue, or is it 3rd Street as well? I did read in the report that some of the things that were okay on Downey Avenue were not okay on 3rd Street. Can you elaborate on that?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Commissioner, it is allowed in the let me rephrase that. restaurants are permitted with open air outdoor seating. Bars, however, outdoor seating is not a permitted use in conjunction with a bar. They are allowed in the downtown core of this specific plan, which includes the Downey Avenue and the properties along Downey Avenue. And it doesn't just end at the face of Downey Avenue, but does go around the properties that front onto Downey. So it does include a little bit of Third Street.
Okay, so just to interject here, you mentioned the outdoor seating area is allowed with a bar as long as there's a restaurant, is my understanding, correct? Like a kitchen restaurant, outdoor seating is allowed, is that correct?
Outdoor seating is allowed in conjunction with a restaurant or similar use. Unfortunately, the code does not specify or does not allow outdoor seating in conjunction with a bar.
Got it. Thank you.
Do you have any further questions, Commissioner?
No more questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Dominguez, do you have any questions?
Sure, Ariola, thank you for your presentation. I think that by your written word, this was a very painful ordeal to this conclusion. Now, let me ask you about the pain. Was the applicant fully aware of all the deficiencies and the Downey downtown specific plan?
Mr. Dominguez, yes, we informed the applicant. We worked closely with the applicant on the design. As you can see, it's a really nice looking design. However, we did inform him that based on the open wall concept, we would not be able to recommend approval of that design. The applicant, Mr. Simon Simonian, wanted to move forward with the project, knowing full well that we were going to recommend a denial of the project so that he can have the opportunity to speak to the Planning Commission about the project.
And those items that you elucidated as lacking and requesting, he, according to this interpretation, he just refused to give you any more information?
No, he did not refuse. Provided us with as much information as he could.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. I said, thank you.
Why was the dog, is that for or against the?
Yeah, I guess I'll bring him back and you can ask him.
Thank you. Commissioner Owens?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Mr. Ariola. So is this thing salvageable? You know, seems to be deficient in a few areas. I'm actually really excited about the look of this place and what the applicant has proposed, including the outdoor seating and the live music. I think Downey Avenue should just be all of that personally. But back to my first question, is there too much to go forward with tonight and just straight deny this and have the applicant work with you and come back with a different proposal?
Mr. Commissioner, we've worked closely with Mr. Simonian, and we feel that he came up with a great looking design, a lot of quality materials on the facade. What we couldn't come into agreement was the foldable doors and windows. With respect to your question as to whether the project can be salvaged, we believe that if the foldable doors and windows are removed, we can reevaluate the project. A lot of the concerns from the police department were of noise and possible security issues with drinking being located that close to the property line. We think it stands a much better chance of coming before you with a recommendation for approval if the foldable doors, windows are removed, and the outdoor seating is removed as well.
Okay, again, I appreciate that. Thank you. I do struggle with all the restrictions because I see other operators on Downey Avenue that seem to have those things going on: outdoor seating, drinking close to, the public or the curb, based on, the outside seating or the outside bar or staging area. So, all right. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few things too that Commissioner Spatos, Commissioner Owens, and maybe Commissioner Dominguez's dog. But in terms of you stated something in terms of the downtown specific plan. I did see this here. It says, encourage mixed use through allowing certain uses like on-site alcohol sales by the right to accompany restaurant uses. And then you stated something, it has to be a restaurant or similar use for the outside, correct? The similar use, can you elaborate on that?
Cafes, ice cream shops, things that provide food as the primary product and not necessarily alcohol. Those uses that have the outdoor seating are in conjunction with a restaurant with a use that has full kitchen facilities. And unfortunately, this one does not have full kitchen facilities. ABC doesn't define this as a restaurant either. So it's an atypical use because we don't have another use in the downtown area that is a bar only, first of all, and secondly, with outdoor seating.
And then, so following up on that, were these photos considered when that decision was made? In terms of, I see a lot of food in here. But...
Well, Mr. Chairman, those photos were just provided tonight. However, there are no kitchen facilities.
Okay.
There's very little room in the tenant space for kitchen facilities. So the fact that they're serving prepackaged food doesn't make it a restaurant. The primary focus of that location is to sell alcohol. I mean, the specific plan allows bars. The problem is that it doesn't mention outdoor seating as permitted in conjunction with a bar. It says with a restaurant or similar use.
Okay. So that's the outside seating. How about the fixed walls? Is that also conditioned on that, or is that not addressed in that?
The what now?
The fixed walls as opposed to the open?
Our concern with the foldable doors and fixed walls is that it can allow for the spillage or the expansion of the seating area to migrate out into the outdoor area, creating outdoor seating. You can have more people in there conjugating in the outdoor area with drinks, also along the north area. Mr. Simonian did mention, though, that the seating area along the north side along 3rd Street would be for people taking a break for a smoke, just to get out, but there would be no drinking. However, it's still considered outdoor seating. So based on the specific plan, we couldn't make findings to approve the project because it didn't comply.
And then, so you said no, so on the 3rd Street, there's no drinking at all. So they would just be posed on Downey Avenue?
Well, they're not showing any seating. That's our concern. The noise, security, and the fact that if you have, for example, a live band, and that's really where that live band may be located, people will then migrate out, either through the relocation of tables and chairs, and now you have outdoor seating as well, which isn't allowed.
Mr. Chair, if I may add to the discussion, the specific plan does conditionally allow for a bar in the downtown area. The distinction, though, is that all restaurants that serve alcohol with outdoor dining, they're allowed by right to sell the alcohol. That does not come before the commission. The specific plan calls out bars because they are unique uses that do have to be analyzed and studied depending on whatever the unique conditions are. When staff was looking at this, as Guillermo mentioned, we did work diligently with the applicant. And we do understand what he's proposing, and we're not saying that we're opposed to the use itself. It's that we have to look at what the land use itself is, not who the operator is, and what potential operators can take over in 5 years, 10 years, and what those impacts can be as well. Not only the immediate impacts, but potential future impacts. And that's why those foldable doors became an issue as we moved further along in discussing the project.
And then, in terms of the proposed outside seating, do you know how big it is in terms of the square footage, or how many seats would be out there?
Well, the outdoor seating proposal along 3rd Street has some issues. They are proposing a single row of, I think, 4 little tables, if I'm not mistaken, along 3rd Street. But as shown, those tables are, the area that's designated for them is about 2 feet. The building department does have issues with accessibility, and 2 feet isn't sufficient, or the 3 feet is sufficient. You'd have to have table, 2 chairs facing each other. Next to the table, you'd have to have 4 additional feet for accessibility. So once you start adding all that space, plus let's say a fence or a planter, there's no more room in the public right-of-way to accommodate accessibility along the sidewalk. There are streetlights, there are tree wells, and utility boxes that will limit the required 4 feet for accessibility purposes.
Guillermo, do you have a graphic that you can show?
Oh, pardon me, sorry, found it.
Oh, that was good. You had the pre and then.
Can I ask a question to the planner?
Let's go ahead, Mr. Commissioner Spatos.
So it sounds like what you're saying to me is that this project is a project that would be approved subject to a few things, and just to keep it as simple as possible here, it sounds like 2 main items are an issue here. One being the foldable doors creating a spillage onto the street, and the second is the live entertainment. So essentially, if this applicant says, I'm not going to do the foldable doors, I'm not going to do live entertainment, I want to open a bar, we're okay, subject to certain conditions, obviously. So
you can also add the outdoor seating. The outdoor seating is the other problem.
okay, the outdoor seating being people sit down and order drinks outside, or is it because it's I'm assuming outdoor seating is seating for proposed, it looks like cold food platters, dips and stuff like that this restaurant or bar slash appetizers is proposing. So the outdoor seating area is proposed along with some type of food, which is the email that was sent to us, along with a cocktail or a drink or whatever else. So the foldable doors to me are more of a design conflict maybe between the two. I think it's awesome. I think foldable doors, and I've seen them before in different establishments, create a specific design feature that appeals to a certain, crowd or genre or whatever. So it sounds like you just don't want people outside. You want to keep them inside. So the food is not an issue. The bar is not an issue. It's more the spillage and the live entertainment. So was an option given to the applicant to remedy the situation by saying, hey, let's work on a design standard that's different that will limit the spillage on the street, or potentially a condition to say, through hours of operation, you're required to have 2 security guards on each side restricting whatever outside alcohol use or something to that effect.
Mr. Chair, if I may add some clarification there, the commissioner's assessment is correct. Essentially, it boils down to those items. The live entertainment was a concern, the foldable doors were a concern, and then the spillage that comes from that. Again, we have worked with the applicant. We've made him aware of our concerns as we've been going along. On many things, again, Guillermo mentioned we did work with him on design and getting those items done. We, again, discussed these items with him. He definitely felt committed to the proposed design that he had. We sort of reached a stalemate in trying to work this out, and the applicant chose to move forward and have the Planning Commission make the determination, which is fully within his right, and that's why we've prepared the staff report that we prepared. We have the recommendation that we have because as staff, again, looking at land use, that's the only recommendation we felt we were able to make. But again, it is the Planning Commission's determination, and the applicant chose to let the Planning Commission make that determination.
Just to put my thoughts out there also, it sounds or looks similar to me with something that the commission passed several years ago. I don't remember an exact date, but the Misiello bar, which created eventually an issue. It was an open air, it was a noise issue, and people eventually had an issue with it. It's probably fair to say that that business wasn't successful because he was made to make it a restaurant and serve food. So I like the idea here where he's implementing food without a kitchen. But I think it's, it's a great plan. It's a great idea. I think, heads weren't put together long enough to come to some type of an agreement. I'm just looking through these plans and they look good, but I think some conditions may help with other conditions that don't work. For example, the foldable doors, because we don't want spillage into the street. Can we put a condition to say, 2 security personnel to be there at all times while business is open so there is no spillage out onto the street? That's to address the foldable doors. And then when it comes to live entertainment, maybe we can somehow put a noise limit on it or and I agree with you, we need to know where the live entertainment's going to be. He can't have it out in the street, but maybe we can, specify that entertainment needs to be here so sound doesn't, go out this way or that way. Just in looking and knowing that location, I think the closest residential is probably, a couple hundred yards. So I think the noise factor in downtown Downey, I think we want a little bit of noise in downtown Downey when it comes to, bringing businesses in. So those are my thoughts. I think we need to bring our heads together because I love the plan. I think it looks nice. And I think some of these things, are workable. And that's why I mentioned the downtown specific plan. It says here the project includes enhanced design features which are part of the downtown Downey specific plan. So this applicant is coming to us with a design feature that's, Beverly Hills design feature. He's saying, I want to put in foldable doors. And we're kind of telling him, we kind of don't like the foldable doors. We want walls so the music doesn't, permeate out onto the street.
Commissioner,
So just
in terms of conditions, we can talk about that later when we're kicking it around with each other. But do you have any other questions for staff?
No other questions for staff. I think that was my question is, were there any conditions given to the applicant as an option to address, the foldable doors or the live entertainment?
Staff did express the concerns that we had with the live entertainment when that came up later in the discussion, and with the foldable doors earlier on. The police department expressed their concerns. That was relayed as well. The applicant, there was a security plan that was proposed. The police department reviewed it. However, they still shared that there was continued concern despite the security guards that were going to be posted.
Okay, so that was an option, or that was put out as one of the conditions.
Correct. There was a security plan that was prepared, but again, because the use is not common to have a bar with such an open concept in the downtown area. And again, the comparison was made to another business in the area that did have a semi-open concept. Again, that one was associated with a restaurant, but there were noise issues that came from it. The only other business that operates with live entertainment alcohol without A restaurant is a nightclub a little further outside of the downtown core, still within downtown, but that is fully within an enclosed building. And so these are the things that staff was looking at when evaluating the project.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
Okay. Before I ask my last question, I just also like to let the commissioners know we do have a representative here from the police department. So if you had questions, you know, go ahead and ask. No? Okay. All right. So my final question here is, in terms of, you know, just the recent times, the open windows or closed fixed wall, did any of what we're going through right now with the COVID, and did any of that come into play in terms of, it just seems like open air would probably be in these times a little more beneficial, but I don't know if that, you know, these plans go back probably, you know, probably pre-COVID. So just wanted to ask that to Areola.
Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, the code doesn't specify or allow outdoor seating in conjunction with a bar as permitted. The code specifically states restaurant or similar use, outdoor seating is permitted. So our hands are a little tied there.
Well, yeah, mine wasn't the outside seating as much as the open windows.
Mr. Chair, the application was submitted prior to the COVID pandemic.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions. I don't know if any commissioners want to follow up. No? All right. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Before we begin the public hearing, I'd like to remind members of the public participating telephonically that the city's meeting rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code prohibit any conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting, even if you're participating telephonically. Each speaker shall have 5 minutes to address the commission. Members of the public wishing to address the planning commission regarding the public hearing for item PLN-20-0029 only may now call our teleconference line at 562-299-6622. For those who submitted comments via email, your comments will be read into the record and no further public comment via teleconference will be permitted. For those present in the city in the council chambers, your comments will be taken after phone and email comments are provided. I will now open the public hearing and will invite the applicant to address the commission. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Simon Simonian. My home address or my business address, which one?
Whichever you want.
Well, the business address that's being presented here to you is 11002 Downey Avenue. In Downey, I also live in Downey. I'm a Downey resident. I have several businesses in Downey, so I have a vested interest into this community. I'd like to just start off by just a statement about the project itself. Then I guess I can address any questions you have about the open doors or any other use problems you have with the project itself. So Bella's Lounge is the quintessential girls' night out destination. It's basically going to be the personification of femininity in an elevated lounge form. It welcomes the environment for patrons to enjoy specialty cocktails served in crystal glassware. It's not going to be just regular glassware. They're going to be prepared by mixologists. That's all that's going to be hired there. I'm not going to hire bartenders. It's going to be specialized mixologists to create an advanced drink menu. And also I'm offering, from the beginning, it wasn't after it was presented to me that I needed to serve food. From the beginning, I offered the concept of serving healthy Mediterranean tapa style menu. The design is basically inspired by the glamour of the 60s Hollywood era. It's a lot of crystal, mirror, gold, velvet seating, marble floors. The detail on the detail that I'm putting into this project, considering that it's only 1,300 square feet, is incredible. I'm just trying to really elevate the whole downtown Downey area actually overall. The drinks are going to be named after Hollywood Golden Age actresses like Elizabeth Taylor, Rita Hayworth, Lana Turner, Marilyn Monroe. So you'll have drinks named after these actresses to, just to encompass the whole theme. As far as the music is concerned, when I said live music, I didn't mean a band. The space is so small, as you can, obviously you can't see the picture anymore because Guillermo has the clicker, but the space itself doesn't allow a lot of room for a whole band to fit. If you can just go back one more. Thank you so much, Crystal. If you look in with the whole bar area taken, the tables, the booths taken, there isn't a large space for me to put a whole band in there anyway. So the whole concept of me requesting live music was, in case I ever wanted to have music, it would be more of a lounge singer. The type of music that I'd be playing in there would be more like jazz, blues, eclectic music, kind of like Lana Turner or Amy Winehouse, Frank Sinatra, stuff like that. So it's not like loud banging music or dance music. There's obviously no room for a dance floor in there or anything like that. It's more of a place where, girls' night out, they want to go out and sit down and have a drink and be able to talk. So the music has to be at a certain level, decibel level, where people can still talk and communicate. You want to have a business meeting over drinks, you can go there and sit down and have a conversation with the person that you're with without having to be harassed with some drunk person or loud music where you have to yell across to each other over. The concept of the open doors just so happened, it was presented way prior to COVID. Just so happened that I think that's the direction of where most restaurants and bars are going to have to go. I think that might be our new norm, where people that are building restaurants and bars are going to have to go to that direction where you have that open air, fresh air flow rather than having recycled air, risking of infection to be spread. It's functional in the new norm. But the function of it prior to this was really to bring in the North Hollywood, Beverly Hills vibe into Downey. If you go out in that area of where the bar strips are in North Hollywood, a lot of places have that open air, inside, outside feel. As far as the design right here in this picture, you really can't see it, but the open doors come also with a railing, where it's a glass railing with some greenery on top. So the spillage is limited with that railing. I'm not like opening the doors out to the street. There's actually going to be a physical railing in there to prevent people from entering through those glass doors. I wasn't even thinking about people exiting. My concern was more people entering through those glass doors that are under 21. So the entrance is going to be one single door, which is that would be the north side of the building. In the front on Downey Avenue, that would be the entrance where there would be a guard there checking identification, because per the 48 liquor license, it has to be a 21 and over establishment. So it's basically going to be for adults. So there will be a railing on both sides of Downey Avenue and 3rd Street, preventing anybody from, it'll be a railing that's enclosed, basically, preventing anybody from exiting and entering the establishment with a drink or without. The only way you can exit or enter is through the 2 doors, the 2 exits. So the spillage, I think that Ms. Ariola was talking about, was basically limited. The spillage limit was basically about 2 feet, is their concern, about 2 feet of spillage into the sidewalk. And as far as noise is concerned, I think like Commissioner Spathos mentioned, I'm very specific to creating noise, and I'm sure there's not a single resident within at least 200 yards from the location. So even if there was loud music, I don't believe it would reach anybody that's within living area. But even then, the whole concept of the live music, if there is gonna be live music, is the fact that I was just going with like a lounge singer or maybe a guitarist or something like that. If the live music is a sticking point, trust me, to me, and I think I mentioned it to Mr. Ariola, I'm not like, it's not the breaking point. To me, more the breaking point would be the foldable doors, because it just creates a certain aura, a certain design to the place, which allows, actually, it helps, in my opinion, it kind of helps the police department into seeing inside as they drive by to see if there's any issues going on or anything like that. I think their concern, of Ms. Ariel's concern about the other side on Third Street, which is the back side, there's no windows there right behind the booths. Those tables, I believe when we discussed the final design of the place, we removed the tables and we made them a standing area only without any drinks allowed. It'll be basically be if somebody just wants to get outside and get some fresh air, they want to get away, they want to get a smoke, they can go out on that area. That way, that just because that there's foldable doors, people don't get the idea that they can smoke in that patio, because since it's open to the restaurant as well, or to the bar as well. I hope I addressed all the concerns that came up. But that when it was presented to me that it would be a problem or a denial point, that's when I tried to interpret, I requested the code. And when I read the code, basically, if I can read it to you, I don't know if it matters or not, but the code basically states, an outdoor seating area attached or adjacent to a restaurant or similar uses that may or may not encroach into the public right of way. Downtown Downey allows for patios. Restaurant or similar. I mean, to me, what's similar to a restaurant would be anything that serves food. I obviously am serving food, whether it's being prepared in a kitchen or not. It's being prepared in a kitchen, whether it's being prepared in a kitchen that's on the facility site or not, I don't think should matter. I have several kitchens that I'm going to have these prepared on. So they will be pre-prepped, either charcuterie platters, cheese platters, appetizers like the ones I presented. I presented like, I think 25 different appetizers that I've looked at. I think the menu is going to carry probably 12 or 13 of them when we discuss it with the chef. We'll wind it down and make a complete menu, like a cocktail menu, a bar menu, and a food menu. So considering the fact that I am serving food, that would make me similar to a restaurant. That was my interpretation, my version of the interpretation of the code, which I figured I didn't understand why it wouldn't allow me to have the foldable doors and a small patio. And when we're talking about patio, we're literally talking about, I think, 2 feet, because there's a flower bed on the corner of right on the corner of 3rd and Downey. There's a big flower bed that extends inward, and to allow clearance, ADA clearance, the patio space doesn't extend out. Now, mind you, these are just renderings. These are not actual plans. So the renderings might show a larger space than it actually is going to be allowed to be. There's really, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it might be 2 feet to be extended out onto the sidewalk. And in all honesty, even those 2 feet aren't really as important as the open window design is really just part of the design, part of the overall feel of the place. That's why I was kind of like stuck on it. And I mentioned to staff that I'd like to present to the Planning Commission and see what they thought of it, like to at least get your point of view, if your point of view is same as mine or same as theirs. So I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Owens, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No, I just want to thank Mr. Simonian for sharing with us, the concept and certainly the end game here. That was very enlightening. So that's the only thing I want to comment on at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dominguez?
Yeah, thank you very much. Sir, I applaud you in your vision. I endorse the vision. I think it's a great vision. Let me ask you some questions. It's clear to me that the staff has expressed to you the delineation and designation of your concept. And we'll be real simple between two things, either bar or restaurant. Which of those two do you consider your project?
The spot's going to be, I'd have to consider it a bar because of the type of alcohol license I'm applying for.
Okay.
I don't think I can consider it a restaurant, considering the fact that I won't have an actual bona fide kitchen.
I'm glad you realize that, because one of the things that the staff has pointed out to us is that your designation of bar does not comply with Section 48 of your ABC license. Are you aware of that?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Yeah, ABC 48 is for restaurant. It's not for bar, according to the report from the staff. So if you're a bar, you've got to change your internal ABC license designation.
Mr. Chair, if I may provide some clarification, the description in the staff report, we were trying to identify that a type 48 specifically does not require a restaurant. Other businesses operate under a 4142 typically in the downtown area. Those do require a restaurant and food to be sold in conjunction with the alcohol. The type 48 does not require food sales and does not require a kitchen.
Okay, then maybe I misread the last sentence of the second paragraph on page 5. So as proposed, the bar lunch also not comply with ABC's definition of a restaurant. So that might need to be clarified.
Yeah, no, 48 license does not require a restaurant, but it is up to the business owner to put a restaurant or serve food if they choose.
Yeah.
If they choose.
I get that part. I'm just giving you what's read to me for which I'll be making.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah. So did the staff also tell you about the hours of the proposed operation, how they may not be compliant with what we have planned for Downey downtown?
The hours?
Yeah.
I don't think we had an issue with the hours presented at all.
Well, okay.
Have a problem with the hours?
If I may, again, staff did work with the applicant for a good amount of time. We went back and forth on quite a few things. The live entertainment actually is something that came in as part of the application after much of the discussion. I believe it may have been a touch point, but the focus again was on the doors, and I think that's where most of the discussion happened.
Well, that's fine and dandy, but I'm reading page 4 here where you're talking about bars, lounges, hours of operation, and your paragraph that says post hours are not consistent with approvals granted in downtown consistent area in the past year, which have designated live entertainment Thursday, Friday only. So again, information that's disseminated to us must be accurate so we can make the correct decisions. All right, let me move forward here. Well, they also said that you didn't provide them with information that you did describe here about entertainment, live music, etc. Sir, I understand why you didn't. I understand now that's not an issue. Let me ask you another question that you've said about before. You own businesses in Downey, sir? What businesses do you own?
I own Joseph's Bar and Grill. I own Mosaic Hookah Lounge, and I own Las Palmas restaurant on Florence.
So you clearly have experience in this realm. Would you say so?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to get this clear here. Thank you, sir. I really enjoyed your verbal presentation. I think the concept is endorsable. I do see issues with the designation between bar and restaurant and everything here that was placed for us with by the city. I think we'll have to discuss this in great detail, but I think the concept is fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Spatos?
Mr. Simonian, thank you for your presentation. It was good. I think your proposed project is very interesting. Great design plan, well thought out. It looks great. So a question I have, and maybe our planners can help here also, but I want to ask you the question first. You mentioned that live music is not an issue if the commission decides that live music shouldn't be in there. Not that I'm saying that's the case with me, but you mentioned that it's not an issue. If your license, and just going off of what Commissioner Dominguez mentioned in regards to your 48 license, it's a hard alcohol license, so you could serve anything, and food is not a requirement for that license. If the conditional use permit, and maybe our planner can answer this, I don't know if you know, can we put in a necessary, food to be requirement as part of the conditional use permit for this location?
I encourage it.
Even though the liquor license does not require it, obviously, can we put it in the conditional use permit that a restaurant or food service to be a requirement for this conditional use permit?
Yes, we can provide additional conditions on top of whatever the ABC requirement is. We can't be less restrictive than ABC, but you can add additional conditions.
Got it.
Well,
Thank
and Commissioner, if we can flesh that out, let's be clear. The commissioners can have this discussion after the public comment is closed. Is what's defined by food? So, are you trying to create a restaurant, and then if that's the case, then you would want a kitchen installed. And so, installing a kitchen is a huge endeavor, both in terms of cost and location and space. So. The applicant mentioned it, and staff have mentioned it as well. This is a bar, and so it's not a restaurant. And so there's the distinction right there. That's right. That line is pretty clear. So if you want to straddle that line, it's going to be very, very difficult. So if you're a restaurant, you have the amenities of a restaurant, and the allowances are different, as you've heard tonight. If you're a bar, there's kitchen. There's a bar, there's no kitchen, and so the allowances are different, as you're hearing tonight as well. Straddling that kitchen, no kitchen is what is going to be very difficult.
Right. From my understanding, the licenses require a percentage, so they'll say 60% of sales to be primarily food sales. Yeah. with the ABC. So as far as a conditional use permit, has there ever been a condition where they say, I don't know if they can even do that, say a certain percentage of sales to be food sales, whether they be whatever, appetizers, chips, dips, whatever the case may be.
Mr. Chair, if I may ask for clarification, I'm trying to follow along, and the conditions that are being referenced, I believe it's 50% of food sales have to accompany for a restaurant with an alcohol license. That requirement doesn't apply to the Type 48, and I think I'm following along with the want to sort of tie that in, but as Director Schindler identified, that it blurs the line when we're trying to apply conditions that are in place for a restaurant and apply those to a bar because our land uses treat them very differently in the specific plan.
But that is a possibility that you can put it in your conditional use permit, whether we put it as a percentage or somehow implement it. That was my question. It was answered. Thank you. Second, in regards to the live music, I know you said it's not an issue. When I see these plans here, I actually think it would be an asset to the business to include live music. And I'm not talking about a 3-piece band or drums or guitars or whatever else, but, a lounge singer, somebody playing a guitar or a cello or whatever. Is there a distinction made on a conditional use permit for live entertainment with, like 3-piece band or certain instruments? Is there a condition that can be put in to say, one lounge singer or a 1-piece band or something to that effect?
Can I interrupt you real quick? And just to add to what Commissioner Spatos is saying, I had this thought too. I think when we had the bar Louie come up not too far long ago, I think their setup was more for karaoke, maybe like a lounge singer. I just don't remember if that was a condition to make it specific to that, or was that just their idea, and they had a live entertainment? Because I think that would answer that for me and Commissioner Spatos at least.
Sure. So you're correct. With Bar Louie, their application was for a open mic for comedy and for karaoke. So that was a condition that was placed to specify those were the only types of live entertainment permitted. So in this case, if the commission on this project or any project wanted to specify live entertainment would only mean X, Y, and Z, we can add that condition.
This is a discussion should be having after the comment here in public comment. So we should move on and just ask questions of the applicant and then move forward. I mean, this discussion is out of procedure here.
Thank you, Commissioner Dominguez.
I have no more questions, Chairman. Thank you.
You said no more questions? Okay. I have just a couple of questions here following up. I think Commissioner Dominguez did bring up an issue here in terms of the hours for entertainment. The proposed here was Monday through Sunday, 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Our current live entertainment is Thursday to Saturday, Sundays on holidays. Were you aware of that before or
I'll
not?
be honest with you, I didn't request the days and hours. I never mentioned days and hours. All I asked was for live entertainment. Must have been like a misinterpretation or
Okay.
miscommunication somehow. If I were to bring a lounge singer or a musician, I don't think it'd be beneficial to me to bring them in on a Monday or Tuesday anyways, because of the lack of business on those days.
Okay.
It would probably be on a Friday or Saturday, either way. So I think if I was aware of that, which I wasn't, and if I did ask for a specific time, if I was given the request to give a specific days to put a lounge singer or a live music, I would have probably requested Thursday through Sunday anyways. So
Okay.
I'm fine with that,
Yeah,
obviously.
and that's a question in terms of, if we conditioned that to Thursday to Saturday at the appropriate times, that would not be an issue for you.
No,
correct?
actually, I mean, it's actually, it works for me anyway.
Okay. And as proposed right now on Third Street, that area designated, would it just have a sign say smoking only, no drinking? What's the,
Well, there's supposed, per the security plan, there's supposed to be multiple guards, and one of them is supposed to stand at the door that enters to that area, which wouldn't allow any drinks to pass that point. There'll definitely be a sign, visible sign that'll say no drinks beyond this point. And that area will not say smoking area, because if you want to go out there and not smoke, you're welcome to go out there and just stand and talk or something. But definitely there will not be any alcohol allowed in that area.
okay. And just to follow.
There won't be seats either, by the way.
Okay, no seats. Just follow what you said. You said guards and security plan. How many guards were proposed in the security plan?
I believe 3, if I'm not mistaken. One at the front door, one at the back door, and then one just roaming.
And then lastly, if we were to tailor a live entertainment CUP to a specific lounge singer or karaoke or whatnot, would you be interested in that? And specifically, what would you request?
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, my capacity of the space is so limited to begin with. For me to have anything more than 3 people singing, it would take away about 10% of my capacity. It just doesn't make sense. Why would anybody give 10% of their profits away just to provide music? From my expectations, my capacity should be less than 50. So if you have more than 3-person band, I mean, and I don't have the space for that type of band anyway. So definitely whatever you offer me as far as the live music, I'm going to accept. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not a sticking point for me.
Okay.
If you tell me no live music, I'm going to accept it. That's not really the sticking point for me. It's more the design of the place that in all honesty, planning department worked with me extensively, a lot of hours putting it in back and forth, coming up with a design. And I think it looks great the way it is with the open air design. It's functional. And considering the current pandemic that we're in, it's even more functional than just for aesthetics.
I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
Can I just one more
Yeah.
add
Yeah,
one more
yes, go
thing?
ahead.
Just a reminder, just as far as the spillage is concerned, there will be a railing there that's probably going to be whatever the legal height is. It'll be impossible to climb over or climb from with the planters and stuff like that. So it's not going to make it where the security issue would be a problem, because you'll be limited to that space wherever the line ends that's allotted to me by the whatever department is that works on that.
Okay.
Like, it was a metro department or something, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation. Okay, Secretary Kavanaugh, may I have the first speaker on the phone?
One moment. Public speaker, please state your name. Your 5 minutes begins now.
Good evening. This is Gabriel P. Gabriel. I wanted to first thank the planning commission for the opportunity to speak. I know this project seems could be potentially controversial, but I want to fill in my thoughts on Simon, the owner. He's a resident of Downey. He owns 3 businesses, as you heard. It's to his benefit to make sure that this is successful and it fits within the expectations of not only the planning commission but also the residents of Downey. And speaking of which, I live on 5th Street, literally walking distance from the downtown area, and I walk with my wife almost every night, whether it's Monday night or a Friday night, and it gets busy. But I pass by Joseph. Simon is a consistent figure there. You can see him outside making sure that everything is being run smoothly. So as a person who not only lives right next to the downtown area, also attends church on Sundays in the downtown area, has his office right next to Porto's in the downtown area, I have no doubt that Simon will do everything he can to make sure that this project and this business is successful and complies, and it's something that Downey can be proud of. I don't want to take up too much more of the commission's time. I know you guys work long hours and get paid cents on the dollar or on the hour, but I think this is something that is a good thing for the city of Downey going forward. And as a resident, as a business owner, I fully endorse it. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Yes, Chair. Speaker, your 5 minutes begins now. Please state your name.
My name is Alma Padilla, and I've been residing in the city of Downey for 22 years, and I'm in favor of Bella's Lounge, item 2. I believe our city is lacking a nice high-end place where people over the age of 30 may enjoy. As Downey residents, we usually have to drive to the OC or to the west side to enjoy a nice cocktail with soft music and where you can actually have a decent conversation without the loud noise or loud music in the background. And as business owners, I feel it will be a great place for networking. And Mr. Simone and his family are very involved in the Downey community, and I look forward to hopefully holding some charity events there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Secretary Kavanaugh, anybody else?
Yes, just one moment. Public speaker, please state your name. Your time begins now.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Reyes, and I am a current resident of Downey. I've lived here since 1994, and I'm calling to say that I support the opening of Bella Lounge on Downey Avenue. I think this lounge would make a great addition to our thriving downtown Downey. Just to let you know, I'm an active member of Optimus International of Downey, and for years I was a longtime member of various PTAs here in Downey, and I can tell you that both of these groups often look for spots to meet, especially when we have committee meetings for upcoming events and fundraisers. And Bella Lounge would provide the perfect atmosphere for this. I believe that other service organizations in our community would benefit from having a spot like this to meet up. I'm in my late 40s. My husband is in his early 50s. And, you know, when this pandemic is over and we can go out again, we'd like to have a local spot where folks in our age group can feel comfortable, something with light background music, a nice atmosphere, something close to home. And I hope the city will approve the plans for Bella Lounge on Downey Avenue. Thank you for listening to my comments. I wish everyone on the committee will seriously consider what I believe will be a wonderful venue. I wish everyone well, stay safe, and thank you all for what you do for our community.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else, Mary?
That's it.
More, right?
Do we have another speaker, Secretary?
Public speaker, please state your name. Your 5 minutes begins now.
Hi, my name is Marisol Castillo. I'm a business owner and also resident of 15 years in Downey. I feel that this Bella's Lounge would be beneficial for our community. It's a perfect way to network and just have discussions within business owners in a quiet, just comfortable setting like Bella's Lounge. That is it.
Thank you very much.
We have no more calls, Chair.
Thank you.
I have a question, comment.
Yes, Commissioner Dominguez?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Could we hear from the police department on the previous businesses of the applicant in regards to 1, noise, and 2, other calls for service, please?
Could we finish public comment first,
Yes.
and then we can get to the police department?
Yes,
And
so
after that-
we will finish public comment, Commissioner Dominguez, and then, and like I stated previously, the police do have a representative here that, you know, that would be an appropriate question to.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
No worries.
So I
Okay.
jumped-
Secretary Kavanaugh, do we have any written public comment on the item?
We do have 2 emails, Chair.
Okay.
I will read the first one into the record. It is from Family Reyes regarding support of Bella's. It says, to whom it may concern, my family has lived in Downey for over 30 years. There is no doubt that the business that have opened up on Downey Avenue have added value to our city. I support the opening of Bella's on Downey Avenue. Respectfully, Edward Reyes.
Thank you.
And our second email and last email says from, I apologize, there's one more. Let me see. Excuse me one moment. My apologies. Okay, the second email is from Stephanie Silva regarding Bella Lounge Downey. Hello, I am pleased to advocate for Bella Lounge Downey. This is a phenomenal idea due to the fact that it would promote a tranquil environment and attract a mature crowd to the city of Downey. As a medical professional, it brings me joy to know a harmonious environment is being promoted. It gives positive ideas for the future, such as team meetings, birthdays, and a casual place for providers to come together. I am looking forward to this project coming to fruition for the city of Downey. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to hearing positive feedback. Stephanie Silva, RPH. And that is the end.
All right, thank you. We will now invite those present in the council chambers to speak at the podium. Whoever wants to speak in favor or against the applicant. One moment. Okay. Can you step forward and state your name and address for the record?
Sure. Hi, my name is Susana Norris. I am a Downey resident. I've been living in our community for about 15 years. My address is 10216 Western Avenue, Downey, California, 90241. So I want to speak in favor and in full support of the Bella Lounge. In my perspective, I strongly believe that Downey would benefit from a lounge that caters to individuals that seek a friendly environment with intimate ambience and sophisticated live music. We currently don't have any of that in our community. We have a lot of bars around here, but those are more loud, intense, sort of party type atmospheres with intrusive younger crowds. So we definitely need or seeking more of those type of elegant, welcoming that would enhance our community. So in a personal level, I want an establishment that can meet, we can meet with our girlfriends and have a drink and enjoy some planning with small live music. In a professional level, I can benefit from bringing my visiting colleagues from out of state to have a drink and to have some strategic meetings, just because it's not loud or intrusive in any way. Overall, I think that in a personal and professional level, this will benefit us. It would enhance our community, and it would have a great benefit for other residents. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Before we have a next speaker, Madam Secretary is going to disinfect the podium. Okay. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, can I take off my mask? No?
Yes.
My name is Alexandra Hanks, and I'm a resident for over 30 years here in the city of Downey. I went to school in Downey. I opened up my business. I have two businesses in the city of Downey, one for a little over 15 years in the downtown area, which this is why I'm in favor for Mr. Simonian opening up Bella's nightclub. Well, it's not even a nightclub, I'm sorry. It's more of a lounge, and this is why I'm in favor. I feel like we have enough clubs, we have enough bars, but this is like a new place that I can bring clients to and not be bothered by younger people or just the audience. This is more of a luxury lounge where I could conduct business, maybe host fundraisers, just bring more business to the city. I love what he did with his other places, but this looks like it's going to be more luxury, classier, just something that we can just enjoy with my female friends and not be bothered by, just a younger crowd. So I am totally favor, and I hope this goes through. I love the outdoor seating, especially now with the COVID. The only places I would be going to is only outdoor places, at least for now. And I've invested my money and time in the city. I own a home here. I've raised my children here. They're opening up business in the city. So I want to continue to see nicer, higher end places. So by Mr. Simonian spending his money and time and investing in our downtown area, I'm in total support of, and I can't wait to see the new location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Monica Vargas. I am the commercial and residential broker for Castle Rock Properties. I've had my business here since 2006. And when I heard about Bella's Lounge, I was very excited. One, because since, like I mentioned, I've had my business, my real estate business since 2006, and I am looking forward to a place like this in the city of Downey. I no longer want to take my clients, my investors, to downtown LA, to West Hollywood, to Beverly Hills. I want to find a place where I could take my clients, my investors, or any future business or past businesses to a location here in our beautiful city of Downey. So I really would love for you guys to consider this, not only for our future business as business owners, but as well as a female owner of a business. I would love to be able to sit down with my friends and have a nice cocktail conversation without being interrupted by loud music. So again, thank you for your time. And again, please really consider this. Again, I feel very proud of being part of the city of Downey, but I would just love to continue bringing my business here and not have to take it to downtown LA or anywhere else. I think city of Downey deserves a place like this. Good night.
Thank you. Please step forward and give your name and address.
Lillian Simonian, 9135 Brock Avenue in Downey. I'm Simon's wife, and so I'm here also to represent the family, but also to speak as a Downey resident. I am a LA County registered dietitian, so what I'm very excited about is the healthy food options on the menu. I think that him and we came up with these healthy options because there is really no other restaurant that offers healthy options, and we take pride in the food that we will be offering. The vision is to have a nice cocktail, healthy, nutritious appetizers with Frank Sinatra background in the music. And I think this is why this would be an ideal venue for this location. Also, we are strong believers in giving back. As you may already heard from the community, we always have fundraisers at Joseph's, and we welcome Pop Warner, we welcome any of the groups, community or charity groups from Downey, sports, high school teams. We love giving back. So likewise, this venue will also provide that option for our local charity groups to come in and have small, intimate fundraisers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Martinez, Daniel Martinez, live at 12224 Glen Avenue in Downey, California. Been a dentist for 24 years from USC. And I actually didn't think I was going to come and talk today. But after hearing Simon and his vision for this particular project, Downey is in need of something like this. I mean, I got a wife, been married for almost 15, 16 years. I would like her to come to a club like this. I mean, it's safe. It's a nice environment. Simon is amazing as far as following regulations. I've been to his other clubs, I think that this is a benefit for the community. I mean, why not have something for us older people? Somewhere we can sit down, or my wife can sit down and have a meal without being accosted by some young person. I mean, this is like a nice thing. I think you guys need to consider it because Downey doesn't have anything like this. It's sort of a flagship type of location. And who knows, maybe this could be something that's even bigger for other locations, you know? And like I said, I've been to places with Simon, and I always feel very safe. He's on top of everything. He just doesn't. He's there at the locations, like at Joseph's. He's always there. He's always monitoring the place. And I think you need to approve this. That's what I think. But that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to give my just a little bit of input. I am also, my office is there in Downey Avenue, 11027 Downey Avenue, and I'm a resident here also in the city of Downey, 9648 Lemeron Avenue. And
Can you say your name? I'm sorry.
Carlos J. Martinez, sorry about that. I am with the project. I think it's going to be very nice. I after listening to the comments the staff had to say, and in regards to the glass, I think that's really where one of the issues is concerning. I think with everything that's going on with COVID, I think it is the right move. I think the concept itself is going to be bringing the city of Downey to another level, just bringing in the type of, you know, like people mentioned, just having to go to other cities instead of doing that. You can now participate and have that in Downey. And as a business owner, also having clients that come around, and we want to find special little places so we can communicate and talk, and not just in that office atmosphere. I think it's going to be something nice to have, and I'm with it, and I hope you guys do give them the right options so we can make this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Duarte and other planning commissioners. My name is David Gonzalez. Been in the community about 40 years now, and I'm at 7033 De Palma Street in Downey. I'm here in support of Bella's in the downtown district, and that's one of the reasons I'm actually in support of this project, because it is in the downtown district. I know noise was mentioned earlier a couple times, and I know from what I understand, as far as the downtown district is concerned, Downey doesn't want quiet. Office space has now become, is not allowed anymore on Downey Avenue. I'm not sure if people know that. So as the offices start, leases start expiring, the city will not allow an office to open up in that specific area. So from what I understand, the city has been lobbying and advocating for these type of businesses. So again, I'm supportive of Bella's, and that's one of the main points, because it is in the downtown district. If this project doesn't get approved, I don't know what will. It's catering to a demographic, from what I understand, 30 and older. And it's going to be a place for myself and my wife to be able to go to. There's a lot of places that we don't visit because the crowd is different, because there's young people there that, you know, that have a different type of, you know, enjoying themselves. So my wife and I sometimes are forced to go to downtown Los Angeles, to go to Hollywood, to go to the West Side, and spend our tax dollars outside of Downey. What a shame is that? So I think Downey, in order to maintain its distinction as the pro-business community that it is, must approve this project, or we're compromising that distinction in the Southeast that we have, and we work so hard to develop. That's taken years and how many councils to get here, to get to this pro-business council that we're known for now in the Southeast and abroad. So not approving this compromises that distinction. You guys talked about outdoor seating, open walls, and foldable doors and windows. Like the applicant mentioned, I would imagine and believe strongly that in a post-COVID world, outdoor seating and open walls will be a welcome part of the new normal. In turn, I feel compensating factors need to be considered in this case. From what I understand, the city, well, sorry, I mentioned that already. Simon is a proven practice and active operator in this community. He wants to invest in Downey once again, this time with a very modern and very progressive design and concept that should only complement and enhance the downtown area. That's all it's going to do. And it's actually going to stand out in a good distinction, probably amongst its neighbors. On Downey Avenue, I would assume once the project is said and done, it's going to be a source of pride for the downtown area from what I see and from what the renderings depict. This is more reason to approve the project, again, being that it's in the downtown area. This project is catering to a select demographic, like I mentioned, 30 and older. So this is another reason, again, I suggest approving this project. It's a high-end space that will be the first of its kind in this community. It's going to provide an excellent option, again, for the local communities to stay local and support local business without looking to go elsewhere. Let's continue supporting small business, maintain that distinction I mentioned, being the best place to do business in Downey, do business in the Southeast. Again, hence not approving this will compromise that distinction. Thanks for your consideration, and I kindly ask that you approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is George Cervantes, local resident and business owner here in Downey. I'm here to support Simon and this business, Bellas. I think it's fantastic. Based on the renderings, the place looks beautiful. I think it's just going to beautify the downtown area even more. I love that it caters to an older crowd. I'm going to be turning 42 soon, and I would love to have a place like this where I can go in a relaxed environment, have a drink, enjoy a conversation. It's something that we don't have here, and I think this would be fantastic. So I asked that you guys approve this, and I won't take any more of your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Gamise. I've been born and raised in Downey for 33 years. I am in favor of Bella's. I think it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's sleek, it's exactly what Downey needs, exactly what my friends and I need to go hang out. Just, you know, we're always driving down to Beverly Hills or having an Uber over there. It's just, it's safe, it's beautiful, and it's exactly what we need. So I'm in favor of it. Good night.
Thank you. Anything else? No further speakers? Okay, before we close the hearing, we're gonna do a 7-inning stretch here, take a 5-minute break. Thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Owens, Commissioner
President.
Patos and Dominguez, everybody back?
I'm back, sir.
All right. How's the dog? Commissioner Spatos, you're there?
I'm here. Something happened to my camera, but I am present.
You broke it.
Too good looking for it.
It's an improvement. So okay, so we're back. Public comment has now been closed. Before the commissioners, before we discuss the item, I know Commissioner Dominguez wanted to address the representative from the police department. If you had any questions, probably now would be the appropriate time for that.
You want me to restate my question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very well. Thank you. So the applicant has stated that he owns 3 other businesses in Downey: Joseph's, Mosaic Hookah, and the Palms. So my question to the police department is, do we have noise complaint calls for services for those 3 entities in the last 3 years? And if so, what are they?
Yes, what I have is the information since June 30th of 2019, just for the downtown areas. I don't have it for Mr. Simone's address at the Palms. I'm sorry, I don't think it's called the Palms anymore, but 8060 Florence. I don't have those calls for services, but specifically to his businesses in the downtown district, the first one being Joseph's. Since June 30th of 2019, we've had 31 calls for service at that location. Not necessarily always inside; they could be out to the front of his the business. But they range from being domestic calls to check the welfares, disturbance calls, which are generally the noise concerns, issues like that. There's another location at the Mosaic. We've only had 2 calls for service since June 30th of 2019. That's a drastic decrease since Mr. Simonian took over that business. So just 2 at that location. But I do not have the ones for his address on Florence.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Of those 31 calls for service at Joe's, can you tell me if you have information regarding how many of those were noise, how many were non-noise?
Regarding disturbances, there's 3. Looks like there's 10 calls for disturbances. It doesn't indicate further on that, but generally when they put like a disturbance, it'd be like a noise complaint or somebody making some sort of noise to the front of the business.
So your interpretation is 10 noise and 21 other?
Correct. They range from assault calls to suspicious events. There's one vandalism, a domestic, which occurred about 2 weeks ago. Yes.
Thank you, officer.
Okay, and just to follow up, officer, when did he take over the Mosaic Lounge?
I know it's been before this time period. I wouldn't want to speak for Mr. Simonian, but prior to him taking over the location, we did have a lot more calls for service.
And that was prior to the June 30th, 2019 date.
Correct.
Okay. And then just following up lastly on the calls for Joseph's, the 31 calls, is that number consistent with some of the other downtown businesses? Is it?
I'll just give you an example. We ran a lot of the similar businesses in that downtown area, that same time period. There was 31 at Joseph's. BRB, before they closed, there was 10 at that location. Mumble Grill had 3, 2 at Lock and Key, 8 at Bastards, 3 at the 2020 Draft House, 24 at the DB Lounge, and like I said, 2 at the Mosaic and 31 at Joseph's.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, commissioners, now's the time for some deliberation. Your thoughts on this, Commissioner Owens?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll start off by saying I'm absolutely in favor of this proposal as it is. I think the open doors, open windows concept, outdoor seating is absolutely everything Downey Avenue needs. I took into careful consideration every bit of support from each speaker. I think my count was between 8 and 10 that rose to speak in support, and the majority was professional women who were seeking out a place like this in the downtown Downey area to conduct, you know, the level and the type of meetings with their client and their client bases that they, you know, would like to put together. You know, we don't have the Denny's Lounge anymore, right? We just lost Denny's, but the lounge in the back of that facility on Firestone Boulevard used to be a meeting gathering place. So we don't have anything like this. I think it raises the bar for other operators on Downey Avenue. It gives the downtown, you know, in my opinion, what it needs. So I'm wholly supportive. I think the noise ordinance will deal with the noise. I appreciated the comment by the police department just prior to me speaking, you know, about the calls for service and which establishments generated those calls and the nature or the type of those calls. I get it. If Joseph's had more noise related complaints, because there's a housing unit that's relatively close to Joseph's location, and that does not discount that moving further north up the street, you do have a neighborhood, you know, past the business down in your end of the block, Miguel. So I support this, and those are my comments for the moment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Dominguez?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. First off, like I said before, I think that the concept is adorable. I like the concept. However, here's what it doesn't fit. To me, it's black and white. It's quite simple. The proposal was for a restaurant lounge. It's not, it's a bar. Well, if it's a restaurant lounge, then all these things that the applicant desires could be amenable. However, it's a bar. If we look at the downtown specific plan for a bar, this with his proposal, his vision is not consistent. In fact, it's an outlier. It's an outlier by 7 strictly defined criteria that's interpreted by staff. Look, we've been here a while. We all know that what our roles are, and what our role is not is to architecture. Our role is not to change downtown specific plans or any other local plan. That's not our purview. We're not empowered to do that. Who's empowered? The city council. So this either goes to city council directly or a petition through the local council member to invoke the city to make amendments, changes to the downtown specific plan to meet these nuances of COVID and outdoor spaces and bars. But that's not what we're here to do now, because we're not empowered to do that. We're here only to look at what is the written rule and what is the proposal and do they fit. Staff has done an incredible job interpreting that, applying the standards, applying what the applicant wants. It's not a match. It's a square peg trying to be round into a round hole. Hey, he likes round, the city is square. So there's got to be a neutralization point. We're not it. We have to abide by what we've been empowered to do, and that is, does this thing fit or not? A couple of things I want to say. One, you know, I keep hearing that, you know, this is a bar for females or people over 30. Well, you know, I don't want any misinterpretation that whatever decision we make today, will either implicitly or explicitly condone age or gender discrimination. We'll make that clear. People say it's for women. Well, are a sorority, fraternity like? You can be excluding men. Again, we're not going to get into that. The other thing is, look, if you look at what he wants to do, fantastic, but he can't do it under the bar for downtown City Plan. It's pretty clear. I think he needs to go back to his council person, lobby for the city planning commission, take a look, or not us, but the police department to take a look and see what is new, what has changed in light of social issues, of which COVID is one of them, in light of the nuances of demographic shifts. I think that's the proper way to go. Will it set him back? Unfortunately, my opinion is yes, it will. Will it prosper Downey and end up with a goal that's fruitful for him and for Downey? Absolutely. But today, that's not what we're here to do. That's not our role. So that's what I have to say. In fact, the businesses, the noise, the disturbance calls, you know, I'm a little alarmed by that. Why? He's an outlier. He's in the same realm as DB Lounge, 24 and 31, whereas the previous bar right next to him, which was really loud, at 10. You know, he wants to be a little bit more upscale, like a Lock and Key, at 2. So again, a whole shift. You know, is the police department correct when they're looking at, you know, what will this open air do? Will there be spillage onto the sidewalks and streets of alcohol and rowdy people? He says no because of his demographic market that he wishes to occur. Okay, great. Let's assume that we believe him. Let's assume we grant this. Hey, we have all been down that road. We've been given a bill of goods that doesn't pan out. And what about if he doesn't make it and he closes the shop and someone else comes in? They're going to have to be adherent to the CUP. So gentlemen, it's not the rosy picture, this final package that's being presented. It's the future. And that's why we're so narrowly empowered to do what is before us in the realm of the Downey Pacific Plan. If he wants changes, petition the city council. That's where this belongs. So I endorse the concept. I listen to everybody presented. I agree. Wonderful. I'm sorry, this just isn't it. It's not the right proposal. Change the proposal, come back, or petition the city council. I'm done.
Okay, great. So Commissioner Dominguez, your position would be to support the staff recommendation?
Unfortunately, and I emphasize unfortunately, I see that as the only clear-cut choice here.
Okay.
Unless the applicant withdraws and wishes to resubmit under a different guise, that being a bar, or he goes to city council members individually or collectively and petitions them to make a planning part come up with a change of some sort. And Aldo can speak to that. That's not my realm, but Aldo can, or there's proper procedure for something like that to occur. But here today, I would have to concur 100% with the staff, although I don't believe it's the best interest of the city of Downey. But given this position and what my job is, I have to go with the staff.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Spatos?
I actually agree with both commissioners, and they both have good and bad points, but I'm going to explain my points and try to give off some of my opinion in this matter to see what we can do to come to an agreement. First and foremost, I think you're right, Commissioner Dominguez, in regards to the project. However, in the conclusion part of this presentation that was given to us by staff, the first line reads specifically, while the project is a conditionally permitted use in the DTSP, which is a downtown Downey specific project, the project includes elements that do not comply with the DDSP, specifically the outdoor seating area, as it is allowed in conjunction with restaurant or similar use. So it seems to me that the biggest issue here, and I think staff kind of emphasized it because they said that they had gone back and forth several times with Mr. Simonian to work this out. And I think staff is pushing to get this approved. They like the concept. I think the way that we do here, and you mentioned that it's not in the best interest of the city to deny it. And I agree. I think it's in the interest of the city to have something like this move forward. I think the biggest hookup here with staff and the reason for denial is the outdoor seating area and the spillage. They're okay with the live entertainment under some conditions. They just want to know where it's at. They want a specific detailed plan. I would have to agree. I like the fact that there was a lot of support here today from local Downey residents. I like the fact that we had no objections here today from local Downey residents, which is a big deal. I do, however, feel like we both staff and the applicant need to get together, put their heads together, and come up with something that makes this somehow come to fruition. And whether it's removing the live entertainment, which I don't think should happen. I think you should have live entertainment. I think they should condition it and put something in there to where there's no amplified music. There's a one-piece band, one musician, to where it keeps it calm and classy and not loud. There's several things I think that need to happen before we can approve this. Obviously, there's nothing presented here with us today, and the reason I feel that is we could say, hey, let's approve it. I'm all for it, and I would be ready to approve it here today. However, I haven't seen a detailed security plan, which is something that I mentioned earlier in regards to security or police or somebody outside in that open air patio area. When I see the drawings, the way it was designed to keep everything kind of inside, to keep it contained, to not have, spillage in the street. The way I saw the design was actually done very well. He's got, little two-foot walls, the folding doors that go out into that area, which kind of retain the people. There's a 2-foot wall. You don't just walk out into the street. And I think that's more of an ambiance and appeal. I don't think he's doing it to take advantage of, people walking down Downey Avenue so he could pull them into the bar. So I'm in support of the project. And I think staff should go back. I'm in a position to approve this project today if we're able to come together and create some type of conditions. One that I mentioned earlier was a condition in the conditional use permit stating that food to be a requirement. I know Aldo had a little issue with that, but maybe that's something we could resolve. I would do it under the certain conditions with the live music entertainment, which would include no amplified music. And I think Mr. Simonian was very diplomatic about it. He said, if that's a condition, I don't want it. Let's just get this approved. He's ready to make this happen, and I can respect that. But I think live music and entertainment with certain conditions can be a benefit to that location. So in conclusion, for the other commissioners, I'm in support of it. If you guys want to put something together here today and condition it so we can approve it, I'm here to do it. The last paragraph on the application under conclusion emphasizes specifically staff's problem is with outdoor seating, and I can understand that. They're following guidelines, the same as we should be doing, following guidelines. And I feel that the outdoor seating area, specifically the folding doors, somehow have created an issue, which I think is part of the appeal. So in order to satisfy staff and obviously some of these conditions, I think we need to put our heads together somehow and make this a reality. Like I said, I like the support, a lot of support from community members, and there were no objections here today from anybody around there. So those are my thoughts, commissioners. I am in support of the project, obviously with some adjustments and conditions.
May I say something?
Sure.
Can I say something before you say something, Mr. Dominguez? I think
I don't know.
I think you were kind of foreshadowing a little bit of this. We're here today to either approve the staff's recommendation, which is a denial, or to not approve that. So in terms of actually creating conditions and stuff right now, that's not what's on today. But in terms of the discussion, if we do kick it back and deny the staff's denial, I think that's when, that'd be appropriate to make those suggestions then. And so, Commissioner Dominguez, sorry I jumped in.
No, you're perfectly right. I'm glad you said that. I agree with what you said. Commissioner Spathis, if you look at that conclusion, it's not as simple as one thing. They outline three specific things. One is the outdoor space that you mentioned. Two is the opening of the walls, and three is music. So it's three items, not one, sir. So will that change your argument? Probably not, but for elucidation and clarity, I just felt I had to point that out.
And I agree with you. There are three items, and I mentioned all three, but I paid special attention to the first item that was mentioned, which said specifically the outdoor seating area, as it is only allowed in conjunction with the restaurant or similar use. So I can get all three, and I think, you know, one of those three he's okay with. He says, I don't need the live entertainment. Take it. I don't want it. So if he says here today, I don't want the live entertainment, I don't want the open doors or the foldable doors, and let's close the walls off, we should approve him. However, there are items here, the way the plan was presented, that the staff recommends denial, which I agree with. According to staff, the way it's presented, our decision is clear. However, I'm implying that I like the project. I don't think we should bury this. I think it's something that will work for the community.
Okay, so with that said, Commissioner Spathos, would you be in favor of approving the denial, or?
I would make that motion.
Not yet.
You're making a motion to approve the denial, Commissioner Owens?
I would make a motion to deny the denial, send it back to staff.
Okay.
And work on those three things that you had just mentioned, one of which the applicant at this point is willing to, I'll just say throw away, but willing to give up. And I think the other two items, the outdoor seating, the removable or the paneled glass, you know, both the partition walls and the windows, I don't think that's of any real consequence other than the concern over spillage. Well, drive down Downey Avenue. It seems to me things are spilling out as it is. So that's of no big concern. But I would
jump in here. I think we're first of all, if there is a majority of the commissioners that support this application, but feel there's just some issues that need to be worked out, then let's focus on that discussion. We don't need a motion. If you don't agree with the denial, just tell us that, and we can focus our attention and time on what are those issues that are of concern to the commission that they'd like to see the applicant and staff work out, and then bring this item back. I think that some of the issues could be worked out here, but there are some issues that staff really needs to sit down with the applicant and have a discussion and kind of come up with some solutions, and then bring the whole thing back with you with perhaps additional conditions, perhaps some modifications to the plan, those kinds of things. That's going to take some time. So if a majority of you generally support the application, but you'd like to see staff go in a certain direction with respect to hours or the entertainment, the open window concept, the outdoor seating, and any other things that might concern you, focus your comments and give staff that direction. And then I think the best thing to do after that is continue the item to a date uncertain, direct staff to meet with the applicant, and then bring it back when they're ready.
Yeah, I think City Attorney Garcia and Commissioner Owens are both correct in the sense that I think here we're here to say, do we want to, go with the staff's recognition of deny, or go against it and bounce back direction for staff, for the applicant can come back, and we could at that point, if the recommendation is to approve, we could approve it. We're not approving. Right now, an approval means a denial. So in that sense, if you guys don't want to deny the project, we don't go with the staff recommendation. We talk about directions that we want the staff to work with the applicant. so he can come back. And at that point, I'm hopeful that the recommendation would be approved. And at that point, we'd be approving the project. So what I'm hearing right now is Commissioner Owens is leaning towards that way to not go with staff's recommendation and deny this project. Commissioner Dominguez is for approving the staff's recommendation. Before I reveal mine, Commissioner Spatos, how do you feel? Do you want to, are you?
So as I was saying, I would like to give staff and possibly the applicant my recommendations to bring this back at a further date, because it doesn't look like this will happen today. Back to those points, I think number one, there should be some type of detailed security plan addressing that outdoor area and how it can be controlled. I think we need a detailed live entertainment plan where we specify one instrument, one person, no amplified music. I would encourage the applicant to not let that go. I think if it's brought before us again, I think that's something that he should look to do. But as it is today, I agree. I think we should put this out to another date. I think staff should meet with the applicant again and try to work this out. So no, I'm not for denying it here today. I think we should, push it to a later date, and hopefully they can get together and make it work.
Okay, great. So I am also in favor of not approving the staff's recommendation for denial based on the applicant's testimony today, based on everybody that spoke either by phone, written correspondence, or in chambers, and just from the dialogue in terms of this is a project that I think could really go forward and get approved. So I'm not in favor of the staff's recommendation to deny this. I think that makes it I think we have 3-1 right now. So if we do not want to go with the staff's recommendation, I think this is probably the time to maybe give them direction in terms of working with the applicant, bringing it back. I'll state this. I think the easiest part on those 3 issues, the live music, the applicant stated that it's not a breaking point. That was the exact words. It was the possibility of having maybe a lounge singer, jazz music. The Bar Louie project that was in front of us about a month ago, we can specifically condition what live entertainment is, which is, say one lounge singer, and, is it background music, is it amplified music, something that those conditions. So that, that can take care of that issue. The hours, I think also the applicant stated that, he's more than welcome to follow the Thursday through Saturday hours that are consistent with the other businesses in the area and who've got similar CUPs. So I think that's something we can very easily direct staff so we can get this project come back to us for an, maybe that the recommendation would change to a approval. And, the other issues I think from hearing the commissioners, and just my own opinion, I think the open doors, the open window, I think is something that I'm for. And that's something that my personal recommendation would be to the staff to work something out where, that is actually allowed for the applicant as opposed to fixed walls. I think Commissioner Owens mentioned, the noise issue to me is not that big of a deal when we don't have a live entertainment where there's a disc jockey, where there's dancing, things of that nature. And there's not a lot of residents in that area. So I think that's some of the issues. And then the outdoor seating, the way I read it, I think I agree with the applicant in the sense that, or something else in terms of the food. I know that staff, Mr. Ariella stated, it was more for like ice cream places or cafe type thing. These tapas style foods and everything, I think lends itself to having the maybe, it's not, and I look at it because 3rd Street, where there is just east of that where there is a few housing residents, that's not going to be open for any of the actual, seating or drinking. And so it will just be on the Downey Avenue side. So I feel comfortable with that. So I think that's kind of where we're at right now. I think if we don't want to go with the staff's recommendation, I think we flesh out some conditions that we recommend that as of right now would go against some of the recommendations. And that, they could work with the applicant so he could, potentially have this approved. So those are my thoughts. Anybody wants to chime in?
I think you're being simplistic. I agree that this thing should go through, but look, it's either a bar or a restaurant. Those are the two criteria we have. He wants to apply criterion to a bar, and he says he's a bar. That's where the crux of all this issue is. If it was a restaurant, we probably wouldn't be wasting all of our time here trying to debate. It would have gone right through. But it's a bar, it's clear cut. It's not going to fly. So we can send him back a number of times. The bottom line is going to be him to decide whether he wants to stay a bar and be denied, or change to a restaurant and fly through with all the DPPS regulations that exist, and they'll make them compliant. So, that's what I say. Look, go back. Who are you? Ask the question, who are you? And make sure it's compliant with one of the regulations and the stipulations for either a bar or a restaurant. And that'll clarify things. Yeah. For us to sit here and say, architecturally, we like this, we like that, we like a 2-foot wall, we like an open room that slides or has venting. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's not our role.
One thing that I guess you and I see eye on that is I think it is in our realm to distinguish what something else means. Something else, if we think is, in compliance with food, then I think we can give that direction to staff, as it's not, I think that's open to interpretation in our suggestion.
Well, I think that we've set precedents, at least you and I have here, along with Commissioner Owens, the last 3 years of what is food. We've addressed this question numerous times in the last 3 years, 3.5 years of tenure. So we have a track record of what that definition is. And clearly tapas is not food based on the criterion that we've implemented and held others accountable for. So to make an exclusion for one individual is not consistent. I think it's immoral. So I would really caution you as to making that statement and trying to adhere to that.
Okay.
Can I chime in here, Chairman Duarte? I agree with you. I think this is, even though it's a thin line, I think, he's proposed here today that he is a bar. However, his whole presentation here today included, 20 items that consist of food items that he's going to include in the bar. And back to my original point, I think if you include something in the conditional use permit, and maybe we can, talk to staff and Aldo and somehow put in there that, whether we make it a percentage of sale, whether we make it, menu, as long as business hours are open, food needs to be served. Part of the conditional use permit, what is the difference between the designation? The license won't allow it, but he still needs a conditional use permit to operate in that location. So it doesn't matter. The license is transferable anyway. So, if you put it into the conditional use permit and you allow him to do it, my question is, if we deny it, like you're saying, it doesn't necessarily approve the project. It just makes them go back to square one, sit down, and try to come to some type of understanding of what staff wants, what the city of Downey wants, and how we can make it happen.
That's my point entirely. You're right. That's it. That's, I think, is the simplest and cleanest way. Otherwise, you're here to pontificate and trying to become architects and trying to interpret and rewrite the Downey specific plan. That's not our role.
Right. So how can we go about doing that? Can we send it back to staff and say, hey, staff, sit down with them? It's denied for now, or can we just,
So I think we could not approve their denial and then give them suggestions on how to work with the applicant. Right? Yeah, with that, I think, like I stated earlier, I think it sounds like we have a consensus in terms of denying the staff's denial, the double negative.
No, that's right.
Excuse me, sir. The public discussion is closed.
You're not supporting the staff's
So
recommendation.
we're not supporting the staff's recommendation of denial, is what I'm hearing. It seems kind of clear.
Sir, if you'd let us conclude this, it would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So, am I correct, commissioners? Do we not want to go with the staff's denial?
I would like to hear what Aldo says is probably the most principled way of addressing this this critical issue for our future.
Folks, we just need a motion.
I'll make a motion to not approve the recommendation of staff and to send back to staff the suggestion to give the applicant and to represent this to us at a later date with changes and modifications. I notice in my paperwork here, I don't have any conditions in this set of paperwork because we're not at that point just yet. So I think we need to go back to the staff, have staff work with the applicant, make a list of conditions, and at that point we can adjust those conditions. But my motion is,
a bar, or do you want it as a restaurant? I mean, that's the crux of this whole
I want staff to figure that out. I want the project, like the chairman had been suggesting, what he's hearing is that the majority of us are supporting a denial.
It's unanimous. We all want this to go through.
All right. We want it to go through.
How are we going to get this done? Is it a bar? Or
Well,
that's the applicant to decide, so we're going to apply the right criteria.
This would be a motion to refer the matter back to staff so staff can work with the applicant on the issues that have been discussed.
Do you want the words deny in there, denying staff's recommendation, or just a straight motion to send it back to staff?
Hold on a second. Hold on. This would be my suggestion. This would be a motion to send the application back to staff to work with the applicant to address the issues you have identified and to bring back the matter with a resolution of approval including the required conditions. And then you come back here for further consideration.
Yeah, and that's correct in the sense that we don't have resolutions to pass because this was a denial.
Right.
So we need to have conditions so we can pass them. So it's not that, I mean, we're not going with the staff's recommendation, and it's not that the applicant's got to start from ground zero or whatnot, is that we just have to have conditions to approve, and those conditions we can tailor now.
Chairman Duarte, I have a question for you. Maybe you could help me answer this. You just brought it up right now in regards to if we accepted this denial, which obviously we agree is not the case, we're all for pushing this forward. We don't have a list for a conditional use permit with conditions.
We don't.
And that comes now, if we motion it, staff would sit down, create a conditional use permit with conditions with some of the items we discussed, so that it comes back to us and we're able to review this
exactly
conditions and either approve or deny. Because the way we have it here today, it's basically for a denial. There's, even if we decided to approve it and we want the applicant to move forward, we don't have anything to look at to review conditions on what we're approving.
Yes, that is 100% correct. So
this is on the application before us. You made an application under and that's what's before us. It's the definition of the application and the criteria that have been applied. That's what I'm telling you. This thing should go back. You should decide if you want to come forth as a bar or as a restaurant and be real clear about it, so that specifically we can decide yes or no. Because right now, everyone's saying it's a bar, it doesn't fit. It's a lounge, it doesn't fit. Well, what are you? I mean, this is too confounding.
Well, you know what?
just decide what you are, who you are, and fit yourself to the criteria that's set for in the Downey downtown specific plan. If it's a bar, you got to abide by that. Excuse me. If it's a restaurant, you got to abide by that. And we're not empowered to architectural things. That's a city council's thing. Don't forget that. Okay. So we can pontificate till the moon turns blue in the next 2 months. that has no merit. Okay. So that's what I'm saying, guys. We're chasing rabbits in deep holes here, of which we have no business doing.
I would accept the language the attorney offered in regards to making a motion to send this back to staff, deny the denial, send it back to staff to work with the applicant, come back to us, with that clarification, that fine line, if you will, bar versus restaurant, let staff work with the applicant in regards to that, come back to us with a list of conditions, and then we can take a look at those and amend accordingly. But that would be the motion I'd put forward.
I will second that motion if it's.
So we have a second. We have a motion and a second to not go with the staff's recommendation of denial, and give them suggestions on the conditions to work with the applicant. We have a first and a second on that, correct?
Yes.
No, the motion is to send the application back to staff to work with the applicant through some of the issues that have been discussed by the commissioners tonight, and to bring back the application with a resolution of approval with all the additional conditions and all the additional changes that need to be made to the site plan per their discussions. Bring that back to the commission for further consideration.
Yeah, and we would kick back to the staff, saying the conditions, like an open window is something that we approve. Condition as the outdoor seating is something that we approve.
Yeah.
So those are the conditions that they would work on, knowing what our stance is for approval of the project. So that's kind of where we're at, guys. So let's we have that motion again, if we have one, with that in mind.
Commissioner Owens?
Yes. I'll restate the motion. The motion would be to send the item back to staff with tonight's input given by the commissioners to work with the applicant to come back with a proposal for approval with the conditions so listed, if that has to be part of the verbiage. But basically, send it back to staff, work with the applicant, and I maybe want to steer clear of denying the denial, but that's my motion, is to send it back to staff to work with the applicant.
And you don't think that staff has already tried to negotiate successfully with the applicant?
I'm going to say that I'm obviously more enlightened tonight because of the testimony of the public and the applicant, giving me the end game and giving me the concept. I did not read that specifically, in the document that I have in front of me. So to hear it from him and then all the support, I believe that there is a additional breath of life in this thing. Remember, I asked Guillermo at the beginning, is it salvageable? Yes, it is. I think it just needs a little more work between staff and the applicant based on what we all heard tonight and the input that we've all shared with everyone and the input that was shared with us.
So Mr. Owens, if you want to make the motion to not go with the staff's recommendation and work with the applicant with the conditions that we spoke about today, which would, differ than what the reason why the staff denied it, you can make that motion and I can ask for a second.
That's the motion, as you stated, Mr. Chair.
And I second that motion.
Okay, we have first and second. Mary, can you take roll call?
Chairman Duarte, can I ask you a question before we proceed with that? And maybe the attorney can help us also. So the two options here today, or maybe Aldo can help us also, is denial, obviously, which is staff recommendation. What is our other option? And if that option is open to us today, what are the guidelines that we're looking at in order to choose that option? Because we don't have any type of conditional use permit to look at for anything other than denial of this application? Maybe someone can answer that
I
for me.
think your motion
Covers that.
it is your option. It is to send it back to staff to work with the applicant,
Okay.
work out certain issues and add some additional conditions and bring it back with a resolution of approval for your further consideration in future public hearing.
So the reason I asked that, attorney, is because if that is the option, would another option here today be, if we wanted to, however, that's not on the table, we've already motioned and seconded the motion, is to present conditions and approve, even though we don't have a list of conditions, conditional use permit from staff.
My understanding from staff is that it's too difficult to do this at this
We'll
hearing.
be here all night. Yeah.
Work out all the details. They really do need time to interact with the applicant on certain issues, and so they need time.
Got it. Thank you.
So, City Attorney Garcia, with the motion that's been made, do we vote on the motion and then give you our feedback in terms of specific what, you know, we basically would want for this approval? Or do we just save it for,
No,
is it part of the motion, or do we, is there after the discussion?
I would say that that part of the discussion should happen now before you take action.
Okay.
But I think you guys have already submitted a lot of comments about a lot of the different aspects that are concerning to you.
Okay.
If there's anything else that hasn't been said, it should be said now before you take your vote.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can just take the vote, and I think staff's got enough to work with the applicant.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, actually, I'm looking at the staff report. The item was deemed complete on May 15th. So before we continue to date uncertain so that staff can work with the applicant, we may want to confirm with the applicant that he agrees to take the additional time required to work with staff to come to what the commission hopes is a positive resolution to the project.
Okay, so if you want to hear from the applicant on that particular issue, that means we need additional time on the approval deadline. So you want to reopen the public hearing, we can ask the applicant if he's good with giving us some additional time to work with him and then get this back to you. If he's okay with giving us additional time, you can ask him to respond to that. Okay. And then you could take your you could do the roll call because you got a motion and a second on the floor.
Yeah.
So.
Would the applicant like to address that issue?
Just so we're clear, I've been in this space now for over 2 years, paying rent monthly, dealing with staff. And it came to a point where we redid the plans. I mean, they worked very hard with me, but at the same time, we came to a point where I've redone the plans and paid my designers to redo the plans and the renderings. These things don't come for free. At least, I think, like 5 times, Guillermo? I redid the plans to bring it close to what they wanted. I redid the design, the look, just to appease their vision of what they wanted downtown Downey to look like. I believe the biggest problem here is the open doors. Their concern is the spillage. I thought I addressed it. I said there's going to be railings. There's no way any spillage can happen if there's railings. Commissioner Dominguez, I believe, has concerns on whether I define myself a bar or a restaurant. I honestly don't know what difference that makes, what the definition of the place is, as long as I'm serving food. Whether it's a bar or a restaurant, as long as I'm serving food, I believe that qualifies me as a restaurant or something similar. Because something similar to me as just a logical person, similar to a restaurant would be a place that serves food, whether it be a bar, a cafe, whatever it is. I think it's irrelevant how it's defined as a space. Bottom line is I'm serving food. When we came to a stalemate about this, I figured I'd come to the commission because there's 5 people I'm talking to, and I'd come to a fair agreement, a fair interpretation of the law or the rule. Now, basically, what the commission is doing is throwing it back to planning department, to staff. So, I mean, we can sit here and go back and forth all year, and all we're doing is just spinning our wheels, because bottom line is, it's either you like the look, you like the concept. Obviously, I think everybody's okay with the concept. The problem here is the doors. I think, forget the music. I mean, Jesus, throw the music out. I don't care. I mean, in good faith, I don't even, fine, just drop it. Forget the hours, the days. Let me tell you, just for information's sake, I was never given a guideline on when live music was allowed. If I was given, I would have complied to that. Definitely, Thursday through Saturday. It makes sense. Why would I want to have live music Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday anyway? There's nobody there. So if you want me to have music Thursday through Saturday, fine, make a condition. I thought that's what the Planning Commission was all about, is making the CUP, building the CUP, developing the CUP. I was not aware that staff, when they were presenting my denial, we're not gonna present any kind of guidelines or a format for CUP. From my understanding, when they explained it to me over the phone, is that we are in support of the concept, but we have to submit a denial because we have issues with certain parts of your design. That's how it was presented to me. Now I'm sitting here and you're saying, go back and go talk to them. By the time I get an appointment, it's a month from now. God knows, with closures coming from Mr. Gavin, I might not be able to see them until next year. In the meantime, I'm still paying rent.
Mr. Chair,
It's unfair.
This is the applicant's opportunity to speak to the commission. I just wanted to clarify. The intent of going back is that staff now does have direction and feedback from the commission directly. The commission has identified to staff that they are in favor of the openable doors, that they are in favor of the live entertainment with specifications as to how the live entertainment will be allowed. As you are aware, in working with staff, we do have to come up with the proper language. The findings that we had to prepare tonight were findings of denial. With this direction from the Planning Commission, we need time to prepare that language so that we can work with you to get to an approval and bring that back. That does take staff some time. The next meeting would be July 15th. All staff reports for that item have to already have been prepared because the packets are delivered next week. So we do need that time to prepare everything and ensure that you are fully informed of what's being prepared before it comes back and gets presented to the Planning Commission. Right now, we don't have enough time to turn that around for you.
Yeah, so and then just to clarify that a little more, I can add on, Crystal. Today, what's in front of us is a denial of your project. Meaning, it's not approve your project, it's do we want to deny it?
I understand that. I thought it would come with some verbiage.
Yeah, so I think that's what we need to clarify. So that's what is in front of us. So what we're saying is here, we don't agree with staff's denial. We want to approve you. Now, with the conditions that they had put that were probably the basis for the denial, they're hearing from us is that it's not an issue, that we would allow the open windows, that we would allow outside seating. So that's the conditions they have to work up with you. And now it's coming from the standpoint is, hey, we've heard from the Planning Commission, we've heard from the community, and you know what? I guess maybe we were wrong in terms of sense. People do want this project, and they would accept it with the limited live entertainment, with the outside seating, and that. But that's not what we're here for today. What we're basically telling you is that that's what we're going to recommend to them to work on with you. In a sense, is not to say, hey, you know what? The same thing happened again, where it's like, okay, we're not going to pass this because of the windows and everything. We're giving direction to the staff saying, we want this to come in for resolution to pass with the actual, resolution and the conditions. And we're fine with the open seating, with the open windows. We're fine with the outdoor seating. And then it comes back to us for an approval. And at that point, we just, we'll approve your project, after we hear everything again. But it's not like you're starting from ground zero where we're saying, hey, go back and do this from the beginning 2 years ago. No, I think the staff, I think we've made it pretty clear that we disagree with the staff and their analysis on this. And we want them to work with you on those conditions that you want, because we're in agreement in terms of pretty much all the conditions that were the three major setbacks. So that's the process, and that's what I want to clarify.
Okay.
It's not that we're going to say, hey, staff, that's it. We mean, we're not going to go with yours, and we're going to approve it and put A, B, C, D together because it's more than A, B, C, and D. You look at the
I know,
the
it's a
conditions
30-page thing.
yeah, it's,
I know.
there's like about 50
I
or
have
60.
3 of them.
So yeah,
I'm
so
familiar with
that's
it.
what we need to
Okay,
clarify.
so
But in
Chairman
terms of-
Duarte,
go ahead.
sorry, if I can just respectfully ask, not make it an undisclosed date, because then it just will get in the back burner. Considering the fact that I've been sitting here literally dealing with staff for over 2 years, can we make it a priority and try to get me on, if not on the next bill, at least the bill immediately after, so that I can just get this project going? It's, you know, considering the fact that you guys already approved the whole conceptually, not detailed wise, if they can just get on it as soon as possible, just make it a priority, considering the fact that I've already been waiting for literally a year and a half. I'm not going to say 2 years because that's a little exaggerated by the time I got to the, you know, plan phase.
And
with
I think
them
that's that's a very fair request. Staff, would you be able to give a definite timeline?
Yeah, we can. So I'm going to speak for staff and, you know, put some pressure on them. So we can't make it back on the 15th. The following meeting to that is August 5th. So, you know, we can shoot for that. But also, Mr. Simonian, that means that your team is going to need to turn around information extremely quickly. So as you said earlier in your presentation, you know, you haven't presented any floor plans or site plans for how you're going to lay out your space specifically. So you're going to have to go back and do that. So we can attempt to respond as quick as we can. We're going to need your team to do the same, because you are going to submit something and we are going to have comments. So that back and forth also is going to have to be very, very short as well. Just for sake of example, and we don't have to discuss it today, is your outdoor dining. So you're going to require an encroachment permit. The Public Works Department's going to need to look at that. So the more accurate that is, the quicker it gets turned around. So we can work with you on what the encroachment permit says, what ADA guidelines say. With that information, you can take it and redesign that. So it works both ways. So that pressure is going to be on your team as well.
Mr. Schindler, I understand what you're saying, but so basically to submit for a CUP, I need full plans and permits and all that already set up?
No, we just need to revise and dig into any of the ambiguities that were displayed on your site. That's it.
But
and staff
is that
will work
verbally
with you on that.
or is that on plans? That's what I'm asking. Like, I mean, I can meet with them as early as tomorrow if they have time.
It's going to be on plans.
Yeah.
We're going to
Mr.
need to
Chair,
see those.
if I may, and that's why we need to explain to you exactly what needs to be shown. If the live entertainment show us where that's going to take place, if there's going to be rearranging of seats happening, and that's why we need the time to meet with you to explain what we need to see. Not all plans need to change. Some of them will have to be revised.
I understand.
But we're committed to sticking to that date.
I'm
It's
okay
like
with
that
it
if you
as
folks
long
are.
as long as I get their commitment, trust me, I'll make time. I'm available. I'm always around this.
As is your team, though, because we know unless you're the guy that's drawing the plans.
No, I mean, that's not a problem. Getting plans drawn takes me less than a week. I need them to give me information. I can't get the information on August 4th, expected to have the plans ready by August 5th.
Understood.
That's what I'm saying. So as long as they get to me as early as possible with the information they need, then that'll buy me time. But if I don't get that from staff, then I'm not going to be allowed to come back in time to be able to meet the deadline of August 5th.
Likewise, and we'd request the same from your team.
No problem.
So today, what we're asking is, are you giving us authority to move this item to the August 5th meeting?
I am actually, yes.
Great. So then if you can shoot Guillermo an email tonight before you go to bed addressing that, then we can get going on this.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that would be to continue this public hearing to August 5th.
Yeah.
I think I earlier said to continue to date uncertain, but
Yeah, to
now we've
August
had this
5th.
discussion. It'll be
Yeah.
August 5th.
And I think our recommendations have been pretty crystal clear with staff in terms of, those issues that we don't find an issue with. So I don't think I need to flesh those out further. We have a motion on the table. Mary, would you want to take a roll call?
We have a motion and a second. Motion from Owens, second from Spathos. And the motion will be to also continue this public hearing to August 5th. Roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Dominguez,
Aye.
Commissioner Owens,
Aye.
Commissioner Spathopoulos,
Aye.
Chair Duarte,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Fermetta is absent. The motion passes with 4 in favor and 1 absent to approve continuing the item to the August 5th Planning Commission hearing.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, sir. Okay, moving along. Non-agenda public comment. Before we begin the non-agenda public comment period, I would like to remind members of the public participating telephonically that the city meeting rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code prohibit any conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting, even if you're participating telephonically. Each person shall have 5 minutes to address the commission on issues that are within the commission's jurisdiction. Members of the public wishing to address the planning commission regarding non-agenda public comments only may now call our teleconference line at 562-299-6622. For those of you who submitted comments via email, your comments will be read into the record. No further public comment via teleconference will be permitted. For those present in the council chambers, your comments will be taken after phone and email comments are provided. Secretary Cavanaugh, do we have a speaker on the phone?
Chair, there are no calls for public comment.
Secretary Cavanaugh, do we have any written public comment on these items?
No, we do not.
Okay, and I'm seeing the council chamber empty, so we do not have any present speakers. So I will now close the non-agenda public comments. Now on to the consent calendar. Again, before we begin the consent calendar comment period, I'd like to again remind members of the public participating telephonically that the city meetings rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code prohibit any conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting, even if you're participating telephonically. Each speaker shall have 5 minutes to address the commission or on consent calendar items. Members of the public wishing to address the planning commission regarding consent calendar items only may now call our teleconference line at 562-299-6622. For those who submitted comments via email, your comments will be read into the record and no further public comment via teleconference will be permitted. For those present in the council chambers, your comments will be taken after phone or email comments are provided. Secretary Cavanaugh, may I have the first speaker on the phone?
There are no calls for public comment.
Okay. Do we have any written public comment on the consent calendar items?
No written items for public comments.
Okay, and seeing nobody in chambers, I will now close the consent calendar public comments. Now, we do have one item for discussion and approval. It's the approval of the minutes from March 4th, 2020. And I do not, it doesn't look like we have a quorum to vote on those.
Yes, we do.
We're all here.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, I was in attendance for that meeting, so I have to recuse myself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I saw Mr. Fermetta's name. Okay, we do have, is there a motion to approve the minutes on May 4th, 2020?
I motion, Chairman, to approve the minutes.
It's March 4th.
March 4th, I'm sorry. Commissioner East-Matos?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of March 4th.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Secretary Cavanaugh, can you please take roll call?
Commissioner Dominguez,
Hey, President, yeah.
Commissioner Spathopoulos,
Aye.
Chair Duarte,
Aye.
Vice Chair Fermetta is absent and Commissioner Owens is abstaining. The motion passes with 3 in favor, 1 abstaining, and 1 absent to approve the minutes from March 4th, 2020.
Okay, thank you. Going on to other business. Now's the time for any planning commissioners. See if they have any other business comments to make. Commissioner Owens? Nope.
None at this time, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dominguez,
How many minutes do I get?
5.
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Spatos?
None, thank you.
And I have no additional business to discuss. Staff member comments. Director Schindler, do you have any staff comments?
Yes, thanks, Chair Duarte. Just wanted to remind folks, we have a COVID-19 residential rent payment program that's available right now. The program is filling up quickly. We have it announced on our social media platform and the Downey Latino and Downey Patriot. So if you know folks that are in need of getting their rent paid for that are income eligible, please direct them to the city's website. We also have a COVID-19 temporary outdoor dining program, and that's to assist restaurants achieve 100% of their occupancy with outdoor dining. That information's on our website as well. And that concludes my comments.
All right, thank you. And with that, I see no other comments. This meeting is adjourned at 9:58.
All right.
Good night, all.